What is it? Oh, ECHOO.
Echo badge.
Yeah.
I was actually at the back of a drawer, and randomly I found two solar strung arm line clips. An
They
echo
used to be
badge.
they used to be great. Those line clips, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
I've
Plastic
now,
ones that you just clip onto your rod.
yeah, I've always had one in my tackle box, which I used last time I used it was probably on. No, I had one on my fourth rod, that Shimano Intensity job. Then I've always had a spare, which I used it on Royston, fishing that little canal type lake, fishing washing line method. Put it on a bank stick with line going over and then straight down, which
Yeah.
is all good and well until swans come through and fuck it up. And then yeah, I found another one at the back at the drawer, and now my three new little pond fucking about rods are all line clipped up.
Oh,
With a
very
bit of old
nice.
school.
Very nice. Yeah, I do,
Right,
do
I
miss those
do.
old. You haven't got it to hand, I show the listeners what you're actually talking about.
No, it's in the carp cave, all tucked up on the rods. But yeah, just Google. Oh, we're actually recording, aren't we? Yeah, Google strong arm line clip solar. It is. They've got to still sell them, surely. It's quite possible. Every carp angler should have a set in spare.
Yeah,
It's
literally
the
just
law.
clip them onto your rod at a thinner bit and then slide down until they lock in, and
Yeah,
Bob's your uncle. Yeah. What would you get some line clips that are fairly useful with? I think it's with the graze rods. They're like a little
yeah,
plastic thing and some elastic, and it's like black elastic, so will go on
yeah.
any.
It's yeah. I've got graze rods at the minute, and they've got those line clips on. I've had them for what about? It's got to be 5 or 6 years. It was before I had anything to do with pure fishing. You know, actually paid for them with my own hard-earned money, with my children's inheritance. Not that I have any children, but
Got a cat.
would be. I've
Sure, the
got
cat likes line clips.
two cats. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's not really elastic. It's more like a real thick latex rubber. There's not much stretching at all. They are quite fiddly to get on your rod, but once they're on, they ain't coming off. You know, I do quite like them, and the rods as well. To be fair,
Yeah.
they are. I've had the air curves. Like I say, a good few years, and they've caught me a few fish, and they've not missed a beat. The only thing I have changed on them, I've replaced the tip eyes with the the anti-frap tip rings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did a little bit of DIY. I replaced the tip rings on them, which I just wanted to, and that's it. I love them. I think, to be honest, if I had to go for an upgrade, I'd probably go for the Accelerates. The next one grays up. You know, when you get confidence in a brand and what have you, it's there. I mean, are you still rocking the Nash rods, or have you moved on?
Yeah, they are actually up for sale at the minute. I've had a couple of people offer to buy them, but it's just obviously logistics for COVID and meeting people and all that. Currently, I haven't done anything about it. But yeah, my Nash 13-foot, what are they? NR Toros?
Toros, yeah.
Yeah, they are for sale. Currently, with the 13-foot spod rod as well. I've got it all. But, anyway, yeah, I quite fancy the TX Ultras. There's a new load of those
Yes.
coming out very soon. Don't know if you've seen them or not.
I've not yet seen them. I've seen a bit of the stuff online about them, and they do look good. My fourth rod, as I've said before, it's a 12-foot 3 3/4 intensity. A beautiful rod.
Yeah.
Again, I'd have to consider Shimano's as well. Do you know what? I made a mistake at work today. I've been playing with some of the Fox RX Pluses because my MMXR receiver has finally started playing up after well over 10 years. So I'm playing with some RX Pluses, and I put some batteries in and having a fiddle, and I want them now. It's going to cost me a fortune.
How often do you put batteries in and have a fiddle?
It depends when the wife's at work. Cats won't tell.
While the cat's away, Mark will play. I'm sure we can rearrange that sentence to have more relevance. Yes, so hello and welcome to episode 110, is
10.
this?
110. We're giving 110% full forward.
Yeah, 110%. Yeah, so welcome to the Carp Cast once again on St. Paddy's Day. This is the day we are doing this, March 17th, Wednesday in the evening, where we should have got ourselves some Irish larger or similar.
Oh, some Guinness. I've never been keen on Guinness. I've tried it when we were over in Dublin. We had a tour of the Guinness factory like you do when you're a tourist over there. And, part of the package was a pint of Guinness once you got to the top. And, I've never liked Guinness when I've tried it in the pubs. And I thought, maybe it's different. Maybe it's nicer over there. But, no, it just doesn't appeal to my palate.
Yeah, I think, is there any form of alcohol that tasted really nice the first time you had it? Like, ever? Anything? Did your first beer go, oh, that's nice, I'll have another one of them?
Oh, do you remember Hooch?
Yes.
You're at that age.
But
the advent of Alka-Pops just changed it and caused me many visits to the toilet to vomit.
My general point is alcohol, it all tastes nasty until you get used to it. And Guinness is no different. So I got into it for a few years and started drinking it as my first choice drink. But what you generally find is it makes your farts smell really, really bad. So
Oh my God, I really don't need that.
No, my girlfriend at the time insisted that I no longer partook in it.
Yeah, me and my wife have had a similar conversation revolving around protein shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get protein farts. It's, to be honest, it's funny and vile in the same sort of way. Let's be honest.
Funny for you or for her?
Oh, for me.
Exactly.
But let's be honest, I'm 45 years old and I still find farts quite possibly the most funniest thing ever.
I think that's the nature of the beast.
Some of them are beasts.
Okay, I believe you might have been fishing this week.
I caught a carp.
I mean, your voice went very high in surprise because, as I'm sure everybody listening to this did, because, I mean, how?
Yeah. I had a day on my local club lake, and I call it a carp. It was basically a fucking carrot with fins. It was a bright orange thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was any ghosty koi things in there. No doubt it was probably something that's grown oversized for somebody's back garden pond, and it's been dumped in there. But it was just nice to. It was nice to feel that pullback of a carp. It's been a while. I've not really done much, through the winter, through the day sessions, and but it wasn't the only action. The whole pond is just waking up. I stuck my hand in the water and left it there for about 10-15 seconds just to get a gauge of the temperature, and because of the swimming thing, I was going to guess it to be around. It's up there. I'm thinking it's around about between 9 and 11 degrees at the minute.
What, the water?
The water, definitely, yeah.
Ooh.
Judging by the amount of activity as well, though, I mean, first cast, tench. I'm talking like about 5 minutes. The good thing also, it's maybe about 1.5 acres, a rectangle. I'm the only one on for the entire day, so I've picked a swim where it's near where I parked the car, and I could also cast wherever the hell I wanted on the entire lake. Saves moving swims, you just cast there. And I say first cast a tench. Second cast, which is with the next rod, I've recast that one, and all it was a sing pole, little stick, which had a little wafter on of a nice top secret new nutty banana mix that we'll not talk about. And literally within about 20 minutes of that going, because I was thinking, I've got the camera equipment. I'll just there's a bit of action here. There's a few bubblers. I'll set it up, and then I didn't even get a chance, and it was away. And I tell you what, those new rods, 12-foot 3-pounders, those power meshers, they are beautiful to play fish on. They bend.
Wow.
My other rods, 13-foot 3.5. They're a tool for a job. I love them, and you can cast a long way. But just for small waters, when you want to get a bit of a proper bend and a proper, bounce, you want to feel the fish. I really, really enjoyed it, and it was, I don't know, low, mid, double, whatever. I didn't weigh it, but it was a long, lean thing, big old paddle, pulled back a bit, and it was just great fun. And you know what? While I was sorting the gear out in my garage, I'll take a little shot and I'll send it over to you. You can pop it up. I actually came across an old photograph of myself over 20 years back with the Winter 20 from exactly the same swim I fished.
Wow.
And then I was in the same swim and caught a carrot.
Yeah.
So, have you not managed to get the sticks wet yet?
No, I'm kind of trapped at home with the puppies at the minute. I can't get away. The missus lives down in London, so when she comes up to stay, like, she's not really down with the idea of me vanishing for a day or two. So yeah, I'm pretty knackered at the minute, but only another couple of minutes. They've got their injections and chips and stuff on Monday,
Cool.
coming after the Monday after you'll hear this, and then that's 2 weeks, and they can start going to various places that they're going to. So then, should time. I mean, I'm interested. You just said the water's between 9 and 11 degrees. That's generally the time when things start happening. I've been following the linear pages and stuff. This lad had a brace of 40s again the other day. There's been plenty of fish coming, and it seems to have moved from zigs to bags, which I've noticed.
Proper fishing.
Proper fishing. So that does seem to be how many people. I've had a walk around our park lake. So for those that don't know, Blackpool's got like a 30-acre park lake split into two halves with
That's a good size.
Yeah, it's a decent thing. There's about 100 carp in there as well, up to, I reckon it'll do its first 30 this year. The carp that were in there originally just been dropped in from various places about 15-20 years ago. My mate Dave and me, we had a few of them. Biggest was like a low 20 sort of ghosty thing that's still in there, actually, known as Casper. And somebody took over the running of it quite a few years ago and did stock a few carp. Those fish now have sort of hit upper 20s, and I expect the biggest ones are upper 20s, and I expect it to do a 30-pounder this year. But it's got a horrendous weed problem. It's very typical park lake. It's been there over 100 years, and it's silted up over the years. So it's like 3 foot of silt and about 3 foot of water sort of all over it. And it gets super weedy, and I mean like blanket weed to the surface, but it's pretty much no rules on there. You can come and go as you please. So I've had the last few days. I've took mother dog out for a walk around. Just around I don't go around the whole lot, but I'll go around like one half each time. And I've seen anglers on there last couple of days that they haven't been catching much. When it first went mild, the week before last, was it? There was a couple of fish caught. One lad had 3, I think, off like a stony sort of area. Stone on the bank, not on the bottom.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get out there. I want to have a practice with my camera. I bought some nice sort of radio mics in preparation for doing our stuff and getting abroad a bit later on. So I want to get to grips with the camera really and start learning some of this filming stuff. I'm fine with the editing, but not the filming. So yeah, that's the plan. I keep saying it. I will get out for a day or two. When I walk the dog tomorrow, I might just take the camera and actually get some like scenic stuff and see if I can learn a bit more about what I'm doing. And then maybe when the missus is here next week, maybe she'll let me sneak out for a day session. I don't know. Maybe go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind mapping the lake. I've got a bait boat with echo sounder, and I know there is supposed to be one kind of like deeper hole. So I wouldn't mind just getting out there with a Mark shaking his head for those.
Do you want to borrow my marker rod and do it properly?
Yeah, it's very hard though, and it's all like 2 to 3 foot deep. It's just super time consuming. I can do a few laps with the bait boat, just look for some deeper areas. That's all. I've got one. I've had it 10 years, so I might as well use it every now and again. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I suppose tools are there. Like I say, if there's no rules, but the question is there an outer bounds? Because that's usually where you like to set up.
I'm in the old lake. I haven't got a ticket.
Oh, that's fair enough.
I mean, I pay me council tax. It's council owned. So the way I look at it is they owe me.
Yeah, I like that way of thinking. But yeah, there's just something else I wanted to add with you on about the water temperature.
Yeah.
Where I was fishing this week, the wind was it was a northerly. It wasn't too strong, but it was blowing off of my back. You put the brolly up, just for a bit of shelter, make sure the kettle boiled uninterrupted by the wind.
Yeah.
The sun's in front of me. I was sat in a t-shirt for a while.
Yeah.
And there's even one point, I've got my big boots on and thick socks. I just pulled the hooking mat in front of me and just kicked my shoes and socks off and just sat there in the sun basking. It was brilliant. Until a tension interrupted it. Got wood chips stuck between my toes, which is never good.
Yeah.
Does anyone else out there just hate wood chips?
Yeah, it looks nice,
horrible.
and I think it looks nice in shows when they scatter it around bibbies and stuff. It doesn't look nice for cleaning.
Until they have to clean them up.
Yeah, it does not look nice. Cleaning it up, sweeping and whatever.
Yeah.
But generally, on a lake, there's better ways. It's not very practical with the pegs and stuff,
especially when it goes soggy.
Yeah,
and I like the way Nathan's done it at Cromwell. He's kind of got. It's like a thin, probably an inch or less. It's like a what do you call it? It's like slate, sort of like a white light colour. So when it rains, the water just drains straight through. Then there's like a membrane under it, and then just straight to your dirt. So nothing's going to grow through the membrane, and you can still get your pegs in nice and securely.
Yeah,
I do like that.
Yeah, it's obviously very well run. Nathan's actually spoke with him earlier. He's up at Cromwell finalising because we can go fishing officially, night fishing and everything from the 29th of March. Angling Trust made an announcement. We will have Jamie Cook on soon. Actually, I've been in touch with the Angling Trust.
Brilliant.
We're just setting a date with him currently to get him on and have a little chat. Because I do feel the Angling Trust needs to capitalise on all the fantastic work they've been doing recently. It's not up for discussion. No uncertain terms. Have had confirmation from the government that from the 29th of March, which as we speak it's the 17th, this will be out on Friday most likely the 19th. So yeah, it's just over 2 weeks and we can fish, night fish properly.
Yeah, it's like night fishing, competition fishing, charter boats. They're all back on. And do you know what I'm doing on the 29th then?
Go on.
I've got a swim booked.
Fantastic. Do you fancy
that's
getting
back on as well?
Do you fancy getting a couple of days up at Linear or something once we can start again? I really feel like I've got unfinished business on that B1 and
I'm not in any rush to join the rat race because let's be honest, everyone's chomping at the bit and they'll all be out there. I'm going to have a swim and then maybe a week or two I'll get the nights in. I've got just had a renewal through for my big pit ticket, so I'm going to keep that ticket as you do. I'm looking, to be honest. You mentioned Linear. Linear's great, but I'm also looking forward to having a play on the A1 pits as well.
Yeah, just because with your prodding stick, I've seen that the
fanny whacker pole.
Yeah, I've seen that the spare poles seem to be in stock everywhere at the minute. I've seen lots of people asking for them and trying to get hold of them.
Yeah, do you know what? I want to buy a load of extension poles and then I want Nash to discontinue it. Now I've got one. I don't. It's a great edge. I don't want everybody getting on the boat.
How much is how many poles do you get with it as standard?
I can't remember. I think it's each pole's something like 1.5 meters. You get it up to 15 meters. So that's what, 10 poles.
Right, that's what comes.
Plus, you get a bag to keep them all in. You get the floaty scoop thing for the end.
Yeah, I think 30 meters is plenty in it if you get one spare pack. I've seen you can buy them individually, aren't they? They're about 12-13 quid each.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get at least another 3 or 4, and then just see what situations I end up in. I think for most situations I can think of, the 15 meters will be fine. But if you want to get that extra reach, and we all know size matters, a couple of extra sections, a bit of extra length, and you will be able to penetrate deeper into the bush.
Bit of extra length. Oh dear!
You can get that big girl.
I'm speechless. I don't know where to start. So okay, what? Anything else going on in our world this week?
No, it's Chili's been doing a series of videos with Carpology, which on Carpology's YouTube channel, I'd recommend everyone to go and watch them. I found them, not I'm not saying lightning's the word, but kind of justifying a lot of what I do as well, and a lot of the way I think.
Mm.
He mentions one on rigs. Chili basically uses, a simple, liner type rig with a curved shank hook, or if he's fishing a pop up, it's a hinge stiffy.
Yeah.
And that's about as complicated as it gets, and that's about as complicated as it needs to be. And just watch the video if you're in doubt about any rigs, or you're in that situation where you're thinking, is my rig to blame? What should I do? Should I do this? Should I do that? Just watch that video. It takes the bullshit out. And,
Chili is angling. We've had him on the show in the past. Go to Spotify, you can see all the old episodes. Yeah. He is very basic, straightforward. He's a down to earth type of guy, lovely fella, and doesn't mess about. But I did take issue with one of the things he's saying, and he's oversimplifying stuff. And it's when he's talking about colours, hook baits and stuff.
Yeah.
I think he's wrong. I just think he's not been in enough situations on lakes where it makes a difference. Or I just think when I read his comments, I was just like, he's just missing out on lakes. And I didn't even think it was up for discussion. It's only the English people that don't think that way. But Rob Hughes has done his diving underwaters. Different colours look different at different times of the day. Some are much more vibrant in the mornings and change in the afternoons, which totally goes with my findings and literally every single person in Europe that's not, trying to catch 5 fish a year, that's catching 5 fish a day, which, that in itself, you're catching in 1 year more fish than most English anglers catch in a lifetime of 25, 30 years fishing. So much as me to tell the God that is Chili, he might be wrong. He is.
Well, just to play devil's advocate here, or Chili's advocate, how do you know a recast rod with the exact same pop-up wouldn't have gone anyway?
Because we've tried that. We've done all them tests. When you're expecting to catch all day long, you do those things. All 3 rods go quiet, so you just change a colour hook bait on one of the rods. You're fishing all 3 rods on one spot. You change one of them to a yellow pop-up, and maybe it was on pink, and all of a sudden you start getting bites on that yellow. The other 2 rods don't go. Then you change those rods over, then you get a bite. I'm not even saying I've done it 100 times more, I would say, and witness people around me doing exactly the same things. And then, as we've spoke at length before, but just doing something different, like popping up off the lead. The fish was still in the swim. It's gone quiet for 3 or 4 hours. You put 6 spods out, nothing happens. Put 6 spods out, nothing happens. And go, right, I need to change something. So you change it, pop it up off the lead, 6 spods out, bite. You're telling me that wasn't the fact that you've just changed something? The fish were there all the time. They've just, you needed to do something different to make them feed.
There's another interesting point. Talking about big fish. I'm talking about the big fish, which are generally the older fish. There's a theory out there, which, my own findings and my own experience, I tend to kind of agree with. The older big ones tend to feed more by smell than actual sight. Your bright pop-ups, generally catch a smaller stamp of fish. If you're fishing, double 18mm nice food bait on the deck, matching the hatch, that's what the big girl's going to take. What do you think?
I think bait definitely makes a difference. So I remember when the kind of fake corn, the yellow plastic corn was new. It was a very, very new thing. And I was using, it was a NutriBaits big fish mix, was it at the time? Something like that?
Quite possibly.
I was getting bites around 5 to 1 on the fake corn than the boilie rods. But the boilie rod did the biggest fish every single session. So quite often we're using 3 rods. I'd have 2 rods on the fake corn and 1 rod on boilies, and I might catch 1 to every 5 on the boilie, but it was the biggest fish. of the session, and I've seen that happen so many times.
Yeah.
You
Did
know,
you ever put all 3 on the boiler just to get 3 bigger ones?
Uh, yeah. Obviously, we tried all combinations. You know, I always fish 3-night sessions or longer these days, and you try that. You'll try that for 24 hours, and then you'll change it. And I mean, you know, I'm going back close to 20 years when that fake corn was new.
Yeah, it was the Enterprise. It's Frank Warwick with Enterprise, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Did you ever use the glow in the dark stuff they do?
Yeah.
You caught?
Yes, I've had fish on it. I remember the lads on Bundy's. Who were those lads we were friendly with that had a few fish one winter? They reckon
we met them on the. I think it was. I'm sure one was called Rod, and it was Palavis. Because I was actually did pictures of the lady for Rod. You know, I'd got down to the lake full in anticipation of a 3-night session in pursuit, and then there she is on the bank. But as you know, she actually came out just after I left the lake at the end of that session as well.
Wow.
But,
yeah, it's a long time ago, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're not kidding. But yeah, with the they did well on Bundy's. I had a take on Bundy's on it, but you know, I lost that one. But I also, and this I remember, it was either Rod or his mate might have been Chris, but it's a long time back. I could be wrong. I remember him telling me, because you either get like it's a blue or a green. I've only ever caught on the blue, not the green.
Yeah, that's what they said at the time. It was the blue one better than the green. I have caught on both, but you know how the reason why we talk about Bundy's is because it was 60+ foot deep, so obviously it's very dark down there at the bottom, which is why they were using the glow in the dark corn. They had some really good results on it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I mean, there's a bit of a weird thing here. I know a few people that have developed like vibrating zigs, right? So things
vibrating zigs. How do they work?
Yeah, well, they've got a tiny little battery inside them, and they use.
Won't that make it sink?
I know 2 separate people that have developed them. One they use some sort of mobile phone. Vibrating thing, you know, the same thing that's in a mobile phone. Anyway, was a chap messaged me about 2 weeks ago actually through the Carp Cast page, and he'd come up with a vibrating one as well. But the first lad I know that did it, he touted it round a few of the companies, and they were just not interested at all. They were like, we're just never going to be able to sell something that's got a battery in it, you know, it's got electrics that we're using as a hook bait. Now we all know the carp never eat the hook bait, with no problems with using plastic or cigarette butts or anything else for a hook bait, you know, because the carp just never swallows it. But being able to actually pitch, you know, to pitch something with a battery in it as a hook bait it's not easy. But you know, it happens in, I think pipe baits, there's some vibrating type things, isn't there? In I know it's a thing in pipe fishing, certain types of pipe fishing. Oh, Mark's not put his phone on silence.
No. To be honest, it's Sabbath, bloody Sabbath. It shouldn't be on silent. It has to be, though. There we go. What a shame. Sorry, Ozzy.
I did like that album. I've got a box set of the first 3 Sabbath albums, actually.
Nice.
Like I've had for 20-30 years or something. I think it was not one of these original things, you know, one that someone's
a bit of a remastered affair.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's well over. It's probably 30 years old. I would say that. I've definitely had it 30 years. I would say. Not sure. Anyway.
Yeah. Where were we? We were talking about vibrating foam.
Vibrating zigs, not for the first time in this Carp Cast. We were talking about vibrating things. Battery powered, but yeah, it's all these little things are an edge. But I was just thinking the same thing, you know, as opposed to illuminating a hook bait. Carp are extremely curious. They pick things up with the mouth. You know, Nash did some glow in the dark zig bugs for a while, if you remember.
They did, yeah.
I lost a very big fish on Cromwell on it. Actually, what I now think was probably a catfish. That very first lockdown last February. Lost a big fish.
Yeah, do you know what? I had some of those, but God knows where they went. But do you know one of my best memories with the glow in the dark stuff? It was just a 1-night session, pit 6 on the A1s, and I'd gone down there. There's one of my old mates, a pal called Jinner. You know, I think he's got to be around his 60s now. Been carping forever. You know, definitely old school. And I've walked into his. I'll tell you when it was. It's when Nash released their fake baits as well. I just got some of those. So I walked into his swim. I'm on the Trent bank of Pit 6 and I'm waving these yellow bits of corn in front of him, so I'm going to catch on them. Just these, not putting out else out. I'm going to smash these to the horizon, I'm going to catch on them. And he's just like, it's bits of plastic, that's not fishing, you're taking the piss. So, I caught one on it. That's just on the Nash yellow. Nothing else, just that blasted to as far as I could. And it was only, I remember rightly, it was only like an upper double common, proper tatty old thing. So I made him do pictures, and he's like, it's just not fishing. If that's what fishing's coming to, just casting bits of plastic out, that's not right. So, it's just on dusk, I'm going into a swim for a beer too. I did exactly the same, only this time I've just charged up with my little UV pen, some of this glow-in-the-dark corn, I'm waving that around at him, so I'm going to catch on this now. And he was like, well, I'm not repeating what he said, but, he says, how can you do that? I've put the graft in, I've had the marker out, I've had the spot out, I've baited a spot up, I've got it right. How can you catch on glow-in-the-dark plastic? That's not fishing. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, I did catch on it. I'd, up a double mirror. So, even though it was only a double, I just made sure I woke him up. I made sure he saw me take the hook out of its mouth with it on. They even phoned another mutual friend of ours, Big Chris. He phoned him up later that day. Says, I think I'm just going to go on river for the rest of the season. That's blown my head.
Yeah, it takes a bit of getting your head round, kind of makes a mockery of it all, doesn't it? Sometimes when you think about it, especially the money we waste on bait. I mean, it's starting to hurt me now, seeing how much bait costs, and it had been quite a few years since I bought any, but companies, even like in bulk, you're looking at, I really like the look of the British Aquafeed stuff. You go on their website, the pop-up mixes, and you've been looking at them as well. Like $14.99 a litre for like the squid syrup and all the different ones. I'm like, that's more expensive than alcohol. You can buy spirits of alcohol like cheaper than that, and spirits have 40% tax direct to the government. So spirits are inflated 40%, and we can't get liquids for fishing, at a reasonable price.
What about the 40% carp tax?
Exactly, that's exactly what it is, and it hurts me. And I haven't singled out PAF because you look at the Nash liquids, they're 14 quid in some shops for a litre, like the citrus and whatever. I'm like, can we not make liquids? I mean, you can go to Lidl and buy their version of Bailey's, which has got white wine in it, which has got a 40% tax on it. It's got all the creamy stuff in and the chocolate flavours and whatever.
That's actually a good bait.
It's like 4 quid. For 70 CLs. So how is it a fishing company can't make liquids at a sensible price? I mean, what is it they are putting in? Like gold dust? Like, you can actually buy spirits with bits of gold in it, actually. What's that called? We used to sell it in our bar.
I don't know. That's got to be fun when you're going for the toilet afterwards and it's all speckled.
Yeah, it's actually got little bits of gold floating around.
Gold flake, yeah.
What's it called now? But anyway, yeah, it's really maybe we have to start our own bait company, Mark. Maybe that's what we have to do. But that'll be just as expensive. We'll go, well, that's what it costs. But I mean, we really need? Here's a question: do we really need to be spending that much money on bait for fish? I mean, you have a look how much pellet that fish are bred on. Which are, you look at the koi pellet and stuff that's specifically engineered. Right. So if you can make a pellet that's got like everything a carp needs in it for a proper balanced diet for like £1, £1.50 a kilo, which you definitely can, and make money on it, retail it, these bits. So how is the average carp bait almost 10 times that price?
Eggs, flavours.
I mean, I know extras. Why, and I know what it costs.
Profit,
but pellet still has binding ingredients, doesn't it? Hence, it's a pellet.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not.
I mean, it's a rhetorical question. Obviously, I understand how bait works. We've had tons and tons of bait company owners on this company. I've been friends with Gary Bays for 20 years. And grilled him. I mean, it does cost what it costs, but does it need to? Does it need to cost that money? I understand how retail works. By the time you take 20% VAT off, by the time you take 35% markup from a shop off, it makes it a lot cheaper. But, companies producing alcohol still have all those costs, distribution, markup for the retailer, and 40% government tax, and still manage to get stuff for less than 50% of the price of what liquid for fish costs. I mean, it's disgraceful. As I said, Mark, maybe we should start our own bait company. Who would buy a Carp Cast bait if Mark and I got some, fairly guaranteed recipes from some of our friends, yes, and released a bait, in tried and tested things that we've been using for 30 plus years. I've been fishing 40 years next year, Mark. That's scary.
Wow, you're almost old school.
Yeah, I got my first fishing rod for my 9th birthday, I think.
I think I was round about them. It was one of these starter kits from Woolworths.
And I was purely a carp fisherman sort of 3 years later. I think by the time I didn't have a float rod out, just had 2 rods out for carp. I was maybe 30, maybe 4 years then, which means...
when bait didn't matter too much, it was sweet corn, maggots, worms you dug up from the back garden.
Lunch and meat,
Nana's
lunch and meat,
bit of
cat food with breadcrumb. Yeah. That was a game changer for me when I got put onto that. I got put onto that by a milkman who fished our local lake, Whirly Mere. I might go and do a video, while I'm learning video filming, filmography. As I said,
filmography. That what it's called?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think it's videography.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I might go and retrace my steps on some of the old lakes. I've got a Prince Albert ticket, and the Prince Albert lakes were lakes that I fished, learned to fish on. So I quite fancy going back, kind of reliving it. I don't really think I've got any of the old pictures from back there. Then, as I said, I didn't take a camera fishing until I started fishing the Wire Lake nearly 20 years ago. So I fished for the best part of 20 years without a camera. You might go home and get one if you caught something worthy. That's what I like. Just got off. That wasn't meant to happen.
Yeah, I'm the same. That club lake, I've been fishing. I think I mentioned before, but it's the same venue where back in the day, before I'd even fished anywhere else, really. I had my first double, first 20 and first 30 from that place. It's got a special place in my heart. I can walk round it, and each swim's got memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. But yeah, and would you trust Mark and I, our knowledge and knowledge of the people that we're aware of, if we came up with a reasonably priced bait, mail order type thing, I don't know, £7 a kilo type sort of field tester price. We could do a £7 a kilo bait. Do you think would you buy it? I'd love to do my all-time favourite bait, that banana sweet corn bait that Gary Bays used to make for me. I've got a copy of that recipe. That's what I'm saying. We could get tried and tested recipes and release them ourselves at a sensible price, and obviously cutting out the shops. We could do it mail order, and we can certainly get it on some lakes like Cromwell, and our friend Nathan, who owns Cromwell, he's opening a very large fishing shop soon in the next couple of months. That's why he's here tomorrow. We're planning that. Would you be interested in buying it? Let us know. Carp Cast bait.
Yeah, would you be interested in helping us get the word out once we've got it there as well? Catch a fish and send it in. Let us know.
And if you've got any good names for a bait company, here we go, Mark. We've just plotted a new company. All the people that think we do this for money will now be jumping on the bandwagon. They're just hawking it.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Grabberbaits.com.
Grabberbaits, that's a good name. Yeah. I'd settle for breaking even on the Carp Cast. I would be very, very happy just to break even on what this has cost for the last few years. And there's zero chance of getting investment money back. The laptops and microphones, and I spent £300 the other day on bloody radio mics, to make these videos we haven't done yet. Not to mention, £25 a month one software. Let's not go into it, but to ever break even on this Carp Cast, I would be happy if I ever got the money back that we've already spent. it's not a money-making thing. But being able to provide decent quality bait at a reasonable price, maybe we should just remold pellets. Remold pellets into boilies and mix them with eggs.
Now, who's done that
Is that
before?
as stupid as it sounds?
That's pretty much what the first boilies originated from, like, you know, pellet paste. That's where it all started. You know, trout pellet paste is, you know, pre-boilie, pre-us.
Yes, well, let's dwell on this. I'm sure there's companies out there that roll bait. You know, we get the ingredients, supply a company that roll for other people, and then be able to resell it at a sensible price. You know, one that I can stomach. Because at the end of the day, we're ordinary anglers. You know, I've been sponsored. I was sponsored with Nash for 18 years or something. But up until that point, you know, you don't get sponsored without being an angler. Yeah, you earn it. You be an angler that's successful and obviously adds value to the company. And you know, I used to buy my boilie out of the shop, £10 a kilos and whatever. Activate and assassinate were the sort of go-tos back in the day, but I tried everything. You know, various mainline baits, all different companies. But it is getting to the point now where I think. These liquids especially, I'm starting to use a lot of liquids in my fishing, using them a lot more as we've discussed with Holmesy and various other people on here, and it's hurting me, the prices. You know, I'm back to the carnation milk. What's the other one that's a bit thicker than carnation? It's like used in desserts and stuff. It's quite custardy. I've been using that out of Lidl, you know, mixing that.
It's not evaporated milk, is that? Or is that the carnation same stuff?
But you know, anything milky. Obviously, that citrus is quite milky. That's definitely got carnation-y type things, and I presume preservatives in it. But yeah, flavouring milks. You know, I've been using molasses because our local pet supplier place, which does service all the fishermen. Shout out to Suddell's in Suddles in Blackpool. It's brilliant. But they do 4 litre tubs of molasses for like £9. 4 litres of pure molasses, which is obviously used as an animal feed. It's to get horses feeding that won't eat, basically. It's designed as it's sold as flavour enhancers. Back in the day, we always used to boil our hemp, you know, was river fishing for chub and stuff. We always used to boil our hemp and put a tin of molasses treacle in with it. Now, obviously, you can buy the straight, you know, animal grade molasses from the pet food shop. If you can buy that 4 litres for £9, how can we not come up with carp liquids? You know, liquids to enhance carp. At the end of the day, it's only going in the spod mix and then dispersing into water. I mean, how can we justify charging £14 a litre for that? It's made me angry. You know, it's made me want to do something about it. So, you know, Carp Cast baits, watch out here. You know,
yeah. Do you know
non-ridiculously priced baits.
That has reminded me of a story that you know, Gary Bays told at a slideshow up in New York years ago. I cannot remember the liquid he was talking about, but it might have been an oil. I cannot remember. It was a long time back. But at the $2.50 a bottle or whatever it was, it didn't sell. Right. Repackaged, relaunched at £8 a bottle. It flew off the shelves. Reassuringly expensive, like a Stella.
They've been the smartest bunch as carp anglers, haven't we? Well, on that note, I think it's time for a bit of news with carpfeed.com. So I'd like to welcome to the Carp Cast, Angling Times and Carp Feeds, Mr. Thom Ayres. How are we today?
I'm really good. Yeah, it's good to talk to you. We're recording on a slightly different day of the week and different time of the day. So, yeah, good to see you though.
Both slightly hungover.
Yeah, definitely.
Eyes like piss holes in the snow. Is that the expression? We had some nice comments about your section from Bev Clifford. She's the guest this week, which you won't know yet. But she was saying how much she enjoys your section on here. And literally the feedback from everybody is the same. It's a nice bit of light in our 3 hours of darkness. No, it's good. It's very... professional job doing the news, but you've been fishing this week, I believe.
I have unsuccessfully. I've been, yeah, as regular listeners might know, I live in Oxford. So linear fisheries is a local water for me, as dictated by their own rules. So I thought I've not fished actually linear for a pleasure session for a long time, for many years. I've been down to do work stuff there a few times, and when I was growing up, it was mainly St John's and Manor and stuff like that before the Brasenose waters took over. But yeah, I went down, queued on the gate. Gates open at 7 o'clock these days, which is fairly late considering it's light at about 6 a.m. at the moment. But I don't begrudge. People have got to open those gates, so fair play to them. And I was 13th on the gate, which when they've got three waters open, as they did when I was there on Wednesday, that's not too bad. Yeah, and that dash to the swims, I got to B2. And yeah, I blanked is the short answer. But yeah, it was good to go there. I chased my tail a bit. I went from B2, I then went to B1 when nothing was happening. Then I went to Hardwick Smiths, pushed my barrow around Hardwick Smiths and couldn't find anywhere that I was happy with. So I went back to B2 to the original swim. So on a day session, it was a bit harem scarum, and perhaps I should have just sat it out and spotted when I was casting PVA bags, solid PVA bags. So yeah, it was a frustrating one. It was good to go back. Good to see Ian Roper, the head bailiff. I'm an Oxford United football fan, and one of our players was on the far bank from me at B2, and went back the following day and caught a few fish. A lad called Cameron Brannigan, who I know is friendly with Ali Hamidi. He came through the Liverpool youth system. He's a Manchester lad, but played for Liverpool and then plays for the team I support, Oxford United. Good midfielder and a good angler. He had fish to £32 this week. So Oxford played on Tuesday night, and he was clearly given 2 days off to unwind, and he spent them at Linear on B2 and fished Wednesday and Thursday by the looks of it, and caught both days. So unlike me, so I bow down to him on the football field and on the lake. But yeah, it was good to go to Linear. Saw it busy. Saw a pike angler catch a £20 pike, yeah, saw a few. It was pretty slow going, I'll be honest. But a few fish came out, and it was good to go and just see what's going on.
Where were the fish coming from? The ones that you saw, was it sort of middles, long chucking? If we were to go down off the back of what you learnt, what would you do again if you were going back tomorrow?
I'd take my spod rod. I didn't take my spod rod. I thought I'd just be chucking zigs and solid bags. I tied up loads of solid bags, and I just don't think it was enough. I think you've got to ring that dinner bell. And that was a naive mistake from me. And the anglers that were catching were putting a bit of bait out, particles and small crumb boilies and stuff like that. So on B2, the fish were. I was never on the fish, but they were sort of to my right, and they were in the bowl section of B2, the main sort of section. And on B1, there was a few coming out from the middle and from the bank that's sort of the Hardwick Smith side. I did see one being landed as I drove past. So there was the odd few fish coming out. It seems to be that one of those waters is on form while the other one isn't, and vice versa. But yeah, if I go back, I was packing. It was a bit of a last minute decision. I was packing my kit up the night before, and I just wanted to travel light and on the barrow, and I thought I just wouldn't bother with all the buckets and the spod rod, and that was an error, and that's what I'd do if I went back again.
Because a week or two ago it was the other way, wasn't it? They weren't really coming to bait. It was zigs and long range bags. I've been following the reports with a view to getting down there as soon as I can. I feel like I got some unfinished business on those B1s and B2s with the stock and stuff that's in there now. But it did look like that was the way, but obviously they're starting to switch on to bait now. There's a lot of fish in there. The water's getting warm. I mean, could you hazard a guess what the temp is at the minute of the water in there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to hazard a guess in case I was miles out. But the sun, we've got those longer hours of sunlight. It's light fairly early in the mornings at the moment, and it's light until I was driving back about 6:30 yesterday evening from an Angling Times job, and it still felt light. So we're getting well over 12 hours of daylight at the moment, and I think it's those light levels that are key. There weren't many fish showing, I'll be honest, and Ian Roper came around and said it was the afternoons that tended to do the bites, and that's what I could could really see. I could see one angler catch a fish in the morning, just after spodding, and that probably is what's settled it for me. That he'd rung that dinner bell. I know it's a cliche at Linear, but he'd put a few spods out. The gulls had made a disturbance, and then I saw him catch one. 20 minutes later. So if I'd had my time again, I'd be putting some bait out, definitely.
Maybe we should do a Carp Feed News live session. Maybe we can get there together one day if the stars align and you have a day off or whatever in the week. Maybe we can do a live on the bank and have a little in session.
Yeah, it'd be good fun. Maybe we need a higher quality of angler than me after I've got my tail between my legs after this week. But it was good to just, it feels like I was back within the carp fishing, centre of the universe for some people, Linear. So it was good to pop down there.
Yeah, and 13 cars. I mean, what time did you get there? How early before the gate opened?
I was there about 6:30, and I didn't know what to expect. To be honest, I thought there'd be a queue, and by the time we were allowed to be let in, there 3 other cars had pulled up behind me. So, when you spread that around 2 big waters like B1, B2, and then barely anyone went on Hardwick Smiths, it was there's enough space, but it's not what I'll be honest, it's not what I'm used to. That sort of dash for it puts doubt in your mind. Do you settle for a swim and take your time, or do you dash for a swim that a hot swim based on what might be out of date information? So it threw a bit of doubt into my mind.
I'm guessing in those day sessions you need more than one, really, because probably everything that you learned on that first day, if you were going back for a second day, you can capitalise on that or see where other people have caught from. So that dash in the morning, you're not doing it blind, are you? I think that's probably the key.
Yeah, I'd love to have done back-to-back day sessions. Would have been ideal, and that's what Cameron Brannigan, the footballer, did. He went back literally the next day and caught more on his second day and bigger fish. So yeah, it's key. But it's interesting. Day sessions aren't what most of us are used to, are they? We're conditioned, especially in this country, to fishing overnighters, and it does. Perhaps I was a bit hyperactive thinking it was a day session. It threw me into thinking I've got to move, I've got to do things. And when I could have just sat still and perhaps primed an area, which I might have naturally done had I been there for 24 hours, it's just a different mindset, isn't it? So it was interesting.
Yeah, one I'm going to have a go at myself as soon as I can, as soon as these pups are on the way out. 2 weeks to go, I think, and I'm free out of puppy jail. So, you've been working on any angling time stories this week, or have you just had a week off generally?
It's been a bit of a split week, so I worked on some angling time stuff on Monday, and then I worked yesterday filming a product video for our tackle editor, and then I'm out tomorrow. Actually, we're recording this on a Saturday, and I'm out tomorrow on a Sunday, which could be interesting. Normally, we're quite lucky that we can go to popular day ticket venues in midweek to do our stuff, but we'll be battling the crowds on a Sunday, going to a fishery called Meadowlands, which is a popular sort of course commercial match fishery, and I'm shooting some a product test for a colleague of mine on Improve Your Course Fishing. So that'll be interesting. So it split my week a little bit, but obviously the big news this week for all us carp anglers and for match anglers as well is the slight easing of restrictions from March 29th. We can go night fishing again. Matches can take place, and clearly again it wasn't a done deal. Clearly the Angling Trust had to put in some hard yards, and as they're used to in the last year or so, they've come up trumps, and we can go night fishing from March 29th. There's still some slight caveats. We're not encouraged to drive, make unnecessary long journeys, but the restrictions on local fishing have ostensibly been lifted from March 29th, although the government does advise, don't travel at peak times and don't make unnecessary journeys. I think as long as we're sensible, we can, for you as a Blackpool-based angler can go to Linear after March 29th, and we can crack back on, really. Yeah. And
it's going to be crazy, isn't it? That first week or two, it's like we're getting let out of COVID jail, like literally as the weather's warming up. It's things are starting to happen. I was chatting with Nathan at Cromwell yesterday, and he saw more fish in 24 hours than he's seen in the last 3 months. Sort of show. Literally just turned up as they do in the shallower areas, sort of kind of in front of where his house is on there. I don't know if you've ever been there, but yeah, swim 16, and obviously they're gearing up. He's been doing a lot of work to open for the 29th, but that's the thing. It's like Cromwell's 2 hours for me. Can I technically drive there? Okay, I'll be going for work, but I'm saying if I wasn't working in the trade. So they're saying that the local restrictions, they're advising against unnecessary long journeys, but it's not strictly local anymore. Is that kind of how they're wording it?
I think that's it. I think it's up to common sense. So, effectively, we can fish a much wider range, but just perhaps be sensible with it. Don't take the mick. But yeah, I think crucially for the fisheries, and as I touched on last week when I'd just spoken to Chris Blunt at Linear, even a venue the size of Linear can't stay shut, and he was saying that Easter, and I've been to Linear at Easter when every peg is taken. Easter's their biggest weekend, bigger than August bank holiday weekend, because it is you say let out of COVID jail. We're let out of winter jail every Easter, aren't we, more or less? And it's when the solar powered anglers turn up, which is fair play. Yeah, me too. And so this lifting of restrictions on March 29th means that Easter is now fully fishable, as it were, for day ticket waters. And I think for Bluebell, for Linear, for Cromwell, for those sorts of places, Farlows, the big complexes, no matter how big they are, no matter how many punters have had through the gates in previous years, they could do with it, really. And it will be busy, and it will put some anglers off. But it will be, it's just the right time for everyone, really.
It's one of those where Easter's always stupid busy anyway, as you said. Even 25 years ago, I was travelling fishing at Easter, like everywhere was full. Obviously, we used to be in a closed season normally, so everybody converged on the southwest, which didn't have a closed season. Your college reservoirs, your Devon, Cornwall, which most of the lakes were kind of council owned as well. Most of the lakes down there, and even then, I remember doing a 2-week session. We didn't actually make the 2 weeks because it got so busy, but we got there like the week before Easter, and there were people just setting up in the next swim. Then you'd wake up the next morning, there was 2 people between you and the next swim, and then their mate came, and we had enough. We got drunk, and one of us had a fish. I think it wiped out like 11 lines or something, and then that was it. We went home. We'd had enough. But Easter's always been crazy. But I think this year I'm seeing a lot of people say exactly that. Maybe leave it alone for a week or two. Do some family stuff or whatever, just because of how busy it's going to be. But generally, I found August bank holidays kind of like that. People choose family stuff rather than fishing, and quite often August bank holidays, the quietest weekend around. A few weeks either side of it. I've found, so maybe Easter will be like that this year. Or maybe not. People really are desperate to go, aren't they? So, but I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to avoid it for a week or two, let the sort of crowds disperse.
It'll be interesting to see. It's certainly that, I've noticed some, through reporting on carp catches for a number of years, I've noticed some patterns, and I've noticed, I remember at Bluebell, which is again a bit like Linear, can be absolutely rammed at times, is that I've definitely reported on stories where an angler's turned up on the Sunday of August bank holiday and almost had the place to himself, because it's counterintuitive. You think you just write it off. You think, no, August bank holiday Sunday, it's going to be rammed. But actually, as you say, either anglers split the weekend between fishing and family and don't do the whole thing, or they just sack it off for family stuff, thinking it'll be busy. And actually, if you turn up on those Sundays of a bank holiday weekend, you can actually slot in a good swim and have the knowledge of what the lake's doing based on all the anglers that have been there. So it can be if you time it right. I mean, who knows? It could be, it's uncharted territory, really, isn't it? This Easter, but we're right in that. I mean, it sticks in my memory when Scott Lloyd caught the Burfield Common. Was the end of March. We were at the Big One show in Farnborough, and it was we were in one of the outside sort of big marquees, and the sun was beating down, and it was warm inside, and there was a lot of anglers with sort of itchy feet because it was that first warm spell. It was the end of March, probably 3-4 years ago now, and I saw Scott Lloyd leave one of the stands a bit early, I think, in the afternoon on the Sunday, and then the Monday or Tuesday he'd had the Burfield Common. So we're just at that real time of the year where it can really just kick off and big things can happen.
Cool. And what's this I'm hearing about a £54 common?
Yeah, there's again, I apologise, I haven't been able to track everything that's going on in carp news this week, and I'm sure lots of fish have been coming out, but there's a fishery in Chesham in Buckinghamshire called Waterside Fishery. It's relatively new. We've reported on it a couple of times in Carp Feed over the last couple of years. It used to be really decent value, I think a tenner a day. It's gone up to, I think, 21 quid or 23 quid for 24 hours, but it's a day ticket water, and it's got a big common in there that's done, I think it's done 50 before, but it's come out at 54.10. to a lad called Adrian. Again, I've not spoken to the captor, but there's some lovely pictures on the Waterside Fishery Facebook page if people want to have a look. It's a classic sort of proportioned common, and at £54, it's pretty impressive. There's a lovely shot of it sort of head on that shows its bulk. Yeah, and so it's a two water day ticket complex in Buckinghamshire, and £54.10. You'd take that every day of the week, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of it now. I kind of recognise the guy Adrian as well. I don't recognise the name, but I recognise the picture, and I don't know why. But what a great shaped common it is! Just a big lump, isn't it? And not sort of deep or fat, or clearly, a decent proportioned fish. To be £54, but I don't know anything about that fishery. Is it one of these that's been kept quiet or over the years, or is it one that's just kind of a newish fishery, been stocked in the last few years? Or
I did speak to the owners back when it came on our radar, because it sort of leapt out at us probably about 3 years ago with a few captures, and I might be wrong, but I have a feeling it was an established either club. I think it was a club water that had just slightly not quite had the love and attention that it deserved, and then they took it over and spruced it up, and they net it. I think they've netted it fairly regularly. They're hot on their fishery management, and I think they've started. There's some lovely fish in there. I think there's one called the wood carving or something similar that's been out not too long ago, if you scroll down their Facebook page. And yeah, I think they've just lavished it with a bit of care and attention and brought it up to sort of day ticket standards. And you can do lake exclusives on there. This isn't an advert for their fishery. I've not been down there, but it has produced some decent fish, and it's in a part of the world where there's plenty of carp anglers. So yeah, it looks a cracking common, that one.
Yeah, on the Facebook page, there's a nice picture of him putting it back as well. One of them over-the-shoulder shots where you can really see the sort of width against his arm. And yeah, it's certainly on my radar now. It looks fantastic. It looks like there's a lodge there and stuff. I can see carpy pictures and a bit of a kitchen. So, yeah, anglers are always looking at these sort of lakes now where you can take the misses and to have a £50 common swimming about in front of you on a little private lake or something. I really like the idea of that, and they're only small. They look quite intimate, the lakes. I think the two that they control. I'm just looking at the the Google Maps for it now, and it looks like there's 4 or 5 lakes there. It looks like they control two, a 2-acre one and a 6-acre one, I think. That looks perfect, for, like say, get a couple of mates or whatever, private rent, some facilities, and looks a cracking looking fish. Yeah, so nice happy ending.
You haven't done the jingle for me yet, but
I haven't. I actually I've been using Final Cut Pro to do the stuff, and then when I upgraded my computer, it stopped working, and so I needed to buy it again, which I was a bit miffed about. Because of the new system or whatever. For some reason, my old one didn't work on it anymore. So I've been putting it off. I've been using iMovie in between, just to stitch these podcasts together. And then Heapy told me a little workaround for Adobe. You literally click the student button, student and teachers, and it doesn't ask for any check or anything. And you get every single product for like £16 a month. Like every Adobe product, Premiere, Lightroom, the whole lot, all of them. It's about 20 apps. There was no checks whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. My daughter is at university and uses my computer, so I'm not technically doing anything wrong. But it actually gave me a £3 refund. Turns out I was already paying like more than £16 a month for like one of their programs, Illustrator or something. So they actually gave me £3 back and 20 other apps, including Adobe Premiere. So, do you use that one or?
Yeah, Premiere and Photoshop are the two main things I use, and Lightroom as well. But and yeah, might dip a toe in After Effects soon. But yeah, Premiere is the editing suite I use, and yeah, I don't pay as little as that. So sounds good.
It didn't ask for anything, and obviously I already had a subscription for Illustrator. This is what I did the Carp Cast logo on, and it just swapped it over. It said, "Do you want to swap the package?" You click transfer, and it did it, and then said, "Oh, you get £2.96 refund." Like, wow. Happy days. Shout out to Heapy Bob for encouraging non-legal activities. No, it's fine. I mean, as I said, it's a family computer, and my daughter's at university, so but it's just the fact they don't ask for any checks. You don't even have to click a box to say I confirm I am a student. Nothing. You literally just click student teachers and press it. Goes up to 24 quid after 12 months, but I'll have 6 months of all the software. It just means I've got to learn a new program, so I will edit this Carp Cast on it. It can't be that difficult. They're all pretty intuitive these days, aren't they? Software. If I know with the music editing software, if you learn, they always say you learn one, your favourite one to use, learn that pretty well, and then you can use most of the other company's software, because they all do have the same functions. It's just finding out how that one does it. So do you concur with that? Did you find it a struggle learning Premiere? Or
I've done a couple of different editing software suites, and I completely agree that the principles of them are broadly similar, and it's just how each different editing suite, whether it's Final Cut, DaVinci Resolve, or Premiere, those seem to be the three main ones at the moment for sort of top level editing. That they all fairly intuitive, and there's obviously different ways of doing different things in each one, but the principles remain the same, and I enjoy it. It's quite good fun to learn and explore, and it's almost an endless learning curve. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun. Maybe this afternoon with a slight hangover, but it's just the Max based software. I've used it for 20 odd years, so it's just automatic. So when I looked at the opening page of Premiere when I opened it up yesterday, I was like, looks a bit daunting. But I did the quick tutorial, learned what all the panels are, and it was just like, wow, it's just exactly the same as using Final Cut. So we'll see. I do want to get stuck into the After Effects and stuff. Is that basically text graphics and stuff, or is it actual effects you drag and drop on?
It's lots of different. It's sort of, you can stabilize things. You can create 3D images. You can work on effectively a 3-dimensional plane. So it looks a bit tricky. Again, it's my next thing on my to-do list. I've dabbled a little bit, and colleagues have used it and helped us with certain things. But it's good for those sort of logo creation and those intros, those intricate intros that can be a bit hit and miss. But it's also good for stabilizing footage if you've got gimbal footage or drone footage and things like that. So it's more like the special effects package, I guess, is that.
And what's the film I should nick the happy ending jingles from? Was it Full Metal Jacket? Do you remember the quote in that one? I think they're in Thailand or Vietnam or somewhere, and it's like $5. I might have a troll through some of the old films
I know your Premiere tuition will have been successful then, if this time next week you're full of jingles.
Yeah, well, now I've got all the software to do that. That's my plan, is to once I've got a quiet week, which probably will have this week actually. Saying that now, I'm hopefully going fishing on Wednesday, and Monday, Tuesday I'm working with Nathan from Cromwell, setting his new shop up. But we will see. It will happen soon. One day we'll be surprised. Until then, Thom, we'll speak next week. Hopefully, have a good week.
Brilliant. And
feels like I'm in love. Just like the first time I met you.
Needs to hear us discussing the financials.
I put Chili's bank details out at the end of one of the shows to ring it, and obviously the listeners noticed it before anyone else. So Chili got a string of messages, as did I, saying Chili's bank details actually meant to be on the end of the podcast.
Yeah, you can make a donation.
Exactly. It's difficult to take. I mean, I'm sure now with the cyber geeks, somebody could find a way of getting his address, his date of birth, and his bank account, probably do something with it. But generally, if you've got someone's bank account number and sort code,
you can't do anything.
You put money in.
Yeah, that's all you can do. Yeah, you can put money in. You can't draw anything out, can you?
Yeah. Your teeth are looking very white. Have you had them redone since I last saw you?
No, do you know what? When I had them done, I think I've probably told you this really boring story before, but when I first had them whitened after I'd quit smoking, she said to me, the things that are worse for it is tea and red wine. And I don't really drink much anymore anyway. So I was like, oh, well, I can knock red wine on the head. You know, vodka's a favourite drink anyway, or champagne. And then I just stopped drinking tea.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like tea is the worst thing. I mean, you only have to look at carp anglers, don't you, that sit on the bank smoking fags and drinking tea, and the teeth are just like.
I drink tea. I drink tea by the bucket load. When I first moved to Slovenia, obviously they don't drink tea. They're a big coffee nation, and the only teas they drink are medicinal. They have these like hibiscus things and stuff for when they get ill, but generally they don't drink tea. And I got into coffee for the first time ever, and then I made a cup of tea in one of the cups, and it's left that black stain on the inside of the cup. I'm like, it's just doing that to your body. Like if you leave a cup of tea standing for 5 minutes, you know, before you put the milk in or whatever, the cup's black and it doesn't come off without scrubbing. It's like our whole insides and teeth, obviously, are doing that. But I'm actually booked in to have. I'm having a new set of teeth at great expense. I was booked in to have it done in Bali over the winter, and then obviously couldn't get there. It's quite cheap in Croatia as well, or cheaper than England. But my dad's actually said to me recently, look, this money that I've got is not loads. He said, but it is coming to you and your sister. Like, if you want to do your teeth now in the UK, I'll pay for it, and it comes out your inheritance sort of thing. I was like, do I really want to spend 10, 20 grand of my inheritance on a set of teeth? Which is probably about the extent of the inheritance. It's not like there's going to be chunks coming, my dad's enjoying his retirement, and I mean enjoying it. And
he's telling you about it and you're thinking, that's mine. Yeah, you enjoy yourself, Dad. Yeah, crack on.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've never expected, and I've never had anything off anybody. I've chose a difficult route for life, but it's been my own, and I've never had a helping hand for anything. So I'm kind of quite grateful. And there's a very good chance my dad outliving me with the lifestyle I've had. So.
At one point I was on that path as well, and it was like
yeah, definitely. I mean, realistically, I've told my daughter's 20 now, 21 in July, and I've told her that, like, do not be sad, like, if I die next year, the year after, whatever. It's like that. One, there's a more than realistic chance of it. Two, I've had a great life. Do not be sad. I've done everything I've wanted to do. I still want to do more, and I don't want to go next year or the year after. But it's definitely a possibility. My mate Dave, who has only ever appears in name only on this podcast, he had a heart attack. Who's lived probably he's exactly the same age as me. He does smoke, which I don't. Apart from recreational weed stints, but that's been it. Anyway, he had a heart attack, and the doctor said to him, David, no cocaine, no smoking. That's it. You're done. Retired, or you're going to die. He had like 4 or 5 heart attacks in a week, apparently, and 2 while he was in the hospital. And they saved him, with stents and all, whatever they do. He's probably fighting fit now, everything redone. But he's the same age as me and probably hasn't lived half the craziness. Don't get me wrong, he's not had a sheltered life in any way whatsoever. But it does make you realise, 48 years old, I wouldn't mind, as long as my knees, which don't work currently, but as long as my knees and bone joints still work at 60, and I can push a barrow around. I mean, look at Tim Paisley.
Tim is just phenomenal, isn't he? My dad's the same. Like, my dad, so just, they keep the brains ticking over and they keep the bodies going, and it's not by anything crazy or any like fads or anything like that. It's just a bit of hard graft every now and again, keeping the old brain matter working. They still get involved with writing things and researching things, and it's just keeping everything ticking over, isn't it? But it's like our generation now has to go, and like, I'm the world's worst for it. If I'm doing something, it has to be like 100 miles an hour, and I have to do it to the extent where you're going to burn out doing it. And it's like everything when I used to party, when I used to with running, like, I can't just do it in moderation. I have to be like, all gung-ho and like, almost kill yourself doing everything. And I know you're the same from listening to all your stuff.
Exactly the same. You've just
moderation. Like,
there is no moderation. No, you rely on your life circumstance to actually balance it a little bit. And the right
people around you to be like, hello, what are you doing? Calm down right now.
I think being intelligent as you obviously are, and I resonate with what you just said myself. But it's when things are getting out of control. When you're crossing that line and getting near the point of no return, which I go to regularly. At that point, at that point, I think if you've got half a brain, but you have to have something to live for. Like I do think about this. If my life went off the rails, you know, God forbid something bad happened, family, whatever, or lose all your work, or you end up having our type of mindset and things go wrong in your life, that's when it's dangerous. That's when you might cross that line and never come back. You know, everyone I know, and I've known a few people over the years that have crossed that line and never returned. It's always been a catalyst of events happen. You know, split up with the wife and kids, can't see the kids anymore, missus has gone off with someone else, whatever, lose a job, you know, all them sort of life drama things. If they happen and you've got that type of mentality where you can go off the rails, that's how you end up being a heroin addict, or you know, locked up in jail for something daft or something. So yeah, I'm always mindful of it. But yeah,
and I think sometimes I've in the past used that path to gone off on those, like, you know, dangerous wells to escape from those life dramas, because you just think, I can't actually cope with that right now, so I'll just go into this like other world where none of that even exists. And that's it. Like, you're gone. You know, it's dangerous. You need somebody to pull you back, don't you? And like you say, you lose those few people around you that keep you in check. And you know, and that's it. You could be gone. You know, it's. I think as you get older, you get better at managing it, and you know, knowing how you are. But God, I've had times where, you know, when I was living in my own, tough times at work, you know, just working too much. And my escape at night was getting home and opening a bottle of wine. But you didn't stop at, you know, one bottle, then you'd open the second. Yeah. And then that OCD person in me kicking in. I'd be like, well, I need to finish the second one and then I can go to bed. It's like, well, then 7 days a week you're drinking 2 bottles of wine a night. And it's like, this isn't healthy. Yeah. You know, and it's you get up and you function the next day and you're fine, you're running a business, but you can't drink 2 bottles of wine every night. That's not, you know, it's not good.
I went through the exact thing. Not my girlfriend now, the previous one. She loved wine, and we got that. We started off at 2 bottles. It got to 3 bottles a night. You know, if you had a bit of the other stuff in, it ends up 4 bottles a night. It's, I think, what was a couple of bottles, I mean, each I'm talking about, not between us. You know, it got up to regularly 6 bottles of wine a night. You know, if we're having a drink, I don't mean a school night, but these nights were 3 or 4 times a week. You know, we're doing 6 bottles of wine, and it was dangerous. And I was like, I mean, this is turned into the fishing philosophy podcast, but, which I quite like. We are going to get onto your fishing stuff, but. And listeners, if you don't like it, tough. You should know what we do by now. You know, I like to get inside people's minds. That's what sets the
Carp Cast apart, though, isn't it? That's why I've always really liked it. Is it's not just fishing. You know, and you know, and especially when you work in it. And I love fishing to bits. It's built into my bones. You know, but at certain points, it has been what's driven me to drink. You know, working in the fishing industry. And I've had to replace that to the mountains, and you know, and it's like, right, I'm going to go run in the mountains for 12 hours because I just need to not listen to, you know, Pete be mean to Dave about, because Dave's capture doesn't count because it's not the right carp from the right lake, and he didn't catch it on the right rig and he caught it on the wrong bait, and you just think, it's carp fishing.
So some of our newer listeners, I'll bring that into context for them. So you worked on Carp Talk for many years. So you've sat in an office with Crowe and other people, hearing this sort of stuff day in, day out. People judging people's captures. You know, you're getting the catch reports, etc. I mean, you must have seen a lot of that, I guess.
Oh, and you know what? I could wax lyrical about all the negatives and all the nastiness and bitching and stuff like that went on, and we'd get it thrown at us. Like, I remember me and Cray, you know, as social media became more prevalent and people, you know, had to put their worldly voice and opinion out there, people would throw comments at me and Cray because we'd be reporting on certain captures, you know, that certain people deemed didn't count, and saying me and Cray were wrong and irresponsible for reporting them. And it's like, we're a news magazine. We're reporting facts. It's our job to report the facts of what's been caught, make sure they're as correct as possible. And it's not our opinion. We very rarely give our opinion on anything because you just don't want to get involved. You haven't got the time, and you keep your opinions to yourself a lot, don't you? And the negativity and nastiness we got was unbelievable. But the best thing about that job was speaking to people that had caught PBs, people that had caught their first carp, people that got on the front cover and it made their week, month, year. All the positives that you got from it. People like Pecky sort of accrediting their career in carp catching, you know, in their early days to Carp Talk. I think even Terry has said numerous times, you know, he used to follow fish in Carp Talk for years and then wait until they got to over 40 and then he'd go target them. You know, there were so many positives to it and it was a great laugh along the way. But yeah, there was some unbelievable comments and stuff that we used to get through and you'd just be sat there scratching your head thinking, is this for real?
I've had conversations with Terry about exactly that. He said quite often you'd see him in Carp Talk once, twice, 3 times a year, a certain fish, and then you'd last see it 36, 37, and it'd disappear. You wouldn't see it for 2 years. So he's like, it's either dead or it's big, which was a really good way. I was having this conversation with, I think it was with Roger Bacon the other day, actually. We really miss that Carp Talk, keeping in tune with the industry, and even more so that roundup in the winter, you know, the New Year's edition where you've got all, it used to be all the 40 pounders, it'd probably be all the 50 pounders now. I mean, do you think there's I noticed the online stuff's been sold because I keep seeing posts on Instagram and stuff by Carp Talk online, same with the other one, Cart World. Obviously that the rights for that online stuff has been sold to somebody. I'd be very, obviously you're not going to tell me, but I'm very interested to know what that's worth, because I presume they bought databases and all the
no, so we just basically sold off the social media pages because they were sort of null and void and, you know, sold off. And if somebody wants to utilize them to essentially what they're going to do is try and sell advertising, make a bit of money out of news stories. But people always, you know, you sell the name Carp Talk, and if somebody wanted to try and recreate Carp Talk as an online media outlet, you would have to generate some serious advertising revenue stream from it, because it's so labor intensive collating those catch reports, fact checking them, writing them up into English, and then getting it out there. That is why it would never have worked for an online business for us, and why we never did it, because it's such a costly sort of consolation process and people heavy labor intensive job to do it well, that it was never going to be viable with the limited amount of sort of money that angling companies wanted to put into advertising online with other companies, because they're just ploughing into their own websites, their own social media, things like that. So you're never going to make a massive amount of banner advertising and stuff like that. So it wasn't viable, you know. And because there's so many others that are trying to put their news bits out there and stuff like that, it was just, we knew that it wasn't going to work like that for us. That it was just, you could do it, but you'd have to knock out rubbish sounding catch reports, and you know, you couldn't fact check them and stuff like that, and you know, there was a whole load of things into it. So we just decided the magazine was done, we left it a while, and then sold off the likes on the Facebook page.
Got you. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure there's a way of making where the users do all the work, you know, that they upload the catch reports to bait.
Then
you know,
you're still going to have to approve them, because you can't have dick pics and boob shots, and you know what anglers like, you get all sorts, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then for us, we couldn't have ever put anything like that wasn't written into good quality English, because when you've published a magazine and you value the written word, and I get, you know, you become increasingly frustrated that the modern world seems to think it's not acceptable to be able to spell their own address. You couldn't press publish on something that was just really bad and then have your name above it and be like, oh yeah, you know, proud of that, the website looks amazing, because you'd just be there looking at all the spelling and the English and thinking, no, I can't, I just couldn't cope with it.
I completely agree. You do seem to do things right, you know, that you're into. I mean, going back to what we were talking about before, having that slightly obsessive nature about yourself. I mean, you went from, I remember seeing your Facebook posts and stuff from sort of your Ibiza days and partying, and then you got into running, and all of a sudden, like, it's running, you're running like 100-mile races and crazy
Yeah, you've
stuff.
got to do like it's like with the partying thing. It was like we didn't just party like once a weekend, every other weekend, or once a month. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh, what should we do on Monday? Best go to work, I guess. It was like, they were long weekends, and, going all over, and, London, Manchester, you could go all over the place in one weekend, and, oh, well, they're playing, but, well, they're playing as well. It's like, well, we can do both. We'll make it work. And it was a full-time hobby. It wasn't just like, oh, we like going out partying. It was like following DJs, and it was like following certain music, and you know what it's like. It's a full-on thing, isn't it? And I'd always said to myself, I need to quit smoking before I was 30, because I smoked a fair bit. Because I'd read somewhere that if you quit smoking before you're 30, your body can pretty much repair all the damage, and you'll be all right. And it must have resonated with me. And then I got to about 28 and I started thinking about it and started slowing down, and thought, I need to get out this party, and I need to stop, drinking so much. It's not good for me. I'm getting older. And my brother had moved back from Leeds, and he was into boxing, so he was doing a bit of running. And he said, and I'd said about going running with him. And the lads in the office had done the Paris 10 challenge, which is a 10-miler with your Bergen. And I'd gone to watch them. And I thought, I can do that. I want to do that. So I said to my brother, I was like, oh, can I come running with you? And he literally turned around to me and said, not unless you quit smoking. And that was it. It was just like, well, if he's basically saying that he thinks I can't quit smoking. So I was like, yeah. And that was it. Never smoked again.
Wow.
Got into running. And then every time, 5K, brother's like, well, you can do a 10K now. Yeah, of course I can. Well, you can do a half marathon. Oh, all right then. Yeah. Do a marathon. Yeah. All right. Do 30 miles. Yeah. And it's sort of that sibling rivalry, and, him sort of saying, well, have a go. But yeah, well, then where do you go? There's 100-mile races. So go to it, don't you? It's like, well, I can do that.
I've got another friend who does the ultra running. He holds some records and stuff, but he didn't start till he was 50. When he started doing it, he's an Irish guy called Dara O'Kearney. He's a quite famous poker player as well. Writes books and he's got big blogs and stuff. But yeah, it's 50 years old. He started doing it, and he does those 100-mile races. It's insane. So
they reckon that you sort of, I mean, obviously you can be really good at it when you're peak fitness, but because it's such an endurance thing and such a head game as well. And you have to pull on so many things, middle of the night, you're freezing cold, you're hungry, you probably, you could well be lost. You don't even know where you are at that point in life. And you've got to pull on so many life experiences and all that tough shit that you've been through in life sometimes. You pull on then and you're like, this is easy. I once overcame that, back in my younger years. Or, it just all comes together. But they reckon on the actual endurance side of things as well, in your 40s and 50s, you can actually be sort of your peak endurance fitness, because you might not be as fast, but your ability to go long becomes better just because your body's a bit more tuned up to just living.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And obviously your mind, I mean,
your mind's what's...
Yeah, that's it's a total different ball game. I mean, I did a lot of running when I was young. I ran for the county, like the cross country and stuff, but I didn't do anything after I left school. But I played in all the teams and stuff, football, cricket, and running. I was tall and lanky, but generally you get picked for the cross country.
Yeah.
And then I hated it as well. I absolutely hated running. But I'm suffering now. Like I'm upper 40s, and my knees are shot, and I mean, shot to pieces. That noise coming from you on me. I've got dog and puppies downstairs, so
you've got some puppies. But that's fun, isn't it?
It's tiring now that I haven't had a proper night's sleep in 6 weeks. It's not them, it's more managing the mother.
Yeah.
she's up and down, needs to go and check him. So quite often it's every hour on the hour, like all night long. So you just snatching sleep, and it's a bit better now. I can get sort of 4-hour stints of sleep, but you're still up 2-3 times, But yeah, it's hard work, but rewarding. It's been an amazing experience. Like and they're so cute. There's like little teddy bears. I mean, they're all literally nicknamed Bear, Shep, Ted, because they've just got teddy bear faces.
Are you getting rid of them all as well?
Not all of them. I'm giving one to my godson, godchildren's, 2 of them, and keeping one, and then I'll sell the rest.
That's going to be hard, though.
I know, yeah. I'm only 2 weeks away from that. They get their chips and injections on Monday. We're talking now on Friday. This will be out tomorrow, Saturday, the 20th of March, and then 2 weeks after that, I'll be gone. I'll have my life back, but I'll be lost.
Have your life back, yeah.
It's definitely not an easy process though. But I know you become a dog lover. What type of dog's yours?
Husky.
They're beautiful, aren't they? Stunning faces.
Absolutely. Sometimes I just look at him and I think, you're mint. Like, he's such a character. And I think I grew up with dogs, mum and dad, a lovely garden, couple of ponds. As kids, we were always chucked outside. It was like, mum and dad, get outside, go play, Used to build mud houses and secret gardens and fall in the ponds, and we had dogs and you'd muck around with the dogs. We had goats at one point. There was just always like animals. And for years, because my life wasn't in a place where I could have a dog, I'd go to work during the day, and the offices were in mum and dad's garden, so I'd still see the dogs every day. But there was always that sort of void of not having a dog at home, which I'd always had. And I'd never wanted to settle down, not found the right person. I was just always so content with doing what I wanted when I wanted. And, it's like that pretty selfish life. And I guess I was a bit fearful of settling down as well, because I didn't ever want to feel trapped. I didn't want anybody to ever tell me you can't do that, or, you can't go there, or, I just didn't want to be trapped. And so, it was never a choice to have a dog, working so much and been off doing stuff. And then I met Thom, and it all just changed, like overnight, like it does, like they say, you meet the right person, don't you? And things just change. And he'd moved in about 4 months, and which was never a thing, I'd never even had friends to stay more than a couple of nights at my house. It was all just my space. He'd moved in, and then 2 months later it was well, let's get a dog, because he's always liked animals. And I'd always had Labradors, because great family dogs, proper, I like a dog, big dog. And it was that or a husky, because I've looked after a few friends' huskies in the past, and they're just full on, running friend. They've got so much character, they're like a friend. So we discussed it for a bit, and we thought, do you know what, we're young, we're active, and now is the time that we could probably give a husky a really good home. So I looked into about rehoming huskies. It was quite upsetting to see actually how many are out there, and finding out a bit more about it, because huskies have become real popular with Game of Thrones and stuff like that. And you see all the husky memes, don't you? Because they look real funny and cute. They've shredded the house to bits, and they talk, and so kids love them, and they go, "Oh, mum, dad, can I have a husky?" They talk and they're real funny. But the reality is, it is like having a small child. He wants attention. He tells you when he wants to go out. He tells you when he wants his dinner. He tells you when he's not happy. He tells you when he doesn't want you to be on a Zoom call, and he's just oh, I think it would have been easy to have a child, because at least I strap that into a baby seat, And he wants 2 walks a day for an hour a day, and it's it's a full-on commitment.
They seem very playful, the huskies. Obviously, I've seen your husky probably more than any others now on all the videos and Instagram thingies or whatever there. But how old is your one? Is it because it's a pup, or is it...
He's 4 at least? Well, 4, maybe 5. With him being rescued, we don't know. But that's what they're like. Because they're pack animals, quite intelligent breed, and they're bred to run. They're bred to pull sleds for, days and days on end. So when they're on, they are full on. Like, they want to be entertained. They need like a load of like stimulation, and they need a load of exercise. But then when they want to sleep, they want to sleep. And it's like, they're just flat out gone. Like, he's fast asleep now. But then you could get him up, showing his lead, and he'd be jumping up, spinning around on the sofa. Everything's going everywhere. He's running at the door, put his lead up, put his harness on. He goes outside, zooms around the garden, and it's literally like just what is going on right now.
Yeah, that it's. I was the same. We had dogs as a child, but I never got that emotionally connected to him. I had two die sort of, of old age, and I don't remember being that bothered about. Again, I was in that selfish kind of mode myself, but it's probably been the best single addition to my life, in other than having a child, which was the first time you're not the most important thing in your life, something else is, obviously. Well, that was 20 years ago, and then I had a dog last 3 or 4 years, and wow, it's been the best addition to my life since, having Megan, my daughter. It's so rewarding. Like you said, it is like having another child. They're dependent on you. They need attention, feeding, exercising, running. I mean, I've got a Jack Russell, and it's exactly what you've just described.
Full on there. Yeah,
they're full on, or they're sleeping,
dogs, aren't they?
One or the other. They know how to party and they know how to chill out.
Yeah, but again, like bred for like hunting and stuff like that, aren't they? Keeping like mice and stuff at bay on farms and rats. But they can run some distance, Jack Russells. Like, I've read a few things about they're actually really, really good running companions. Yeah, because they're just bred to work, so they'll go forever, won't they?
They won't stop till they're almost dead. I've done it where I've been out on the bike, not so much running, but on a bike, which is like, you don't really need to stop because you're not getting tired on the flat, and there's a run alongside you as far as you go. They'll drop almost dead when you stop, but you can go 5-10 miles, and they it's never going to give up till you do. Which on the bike, you're probably not going to give up before the dog does. But I think they would keep running till they drop dead of exhaustion. Which obviously not nice to think about, but there's never. But second I want to go to bed or chill out, or you've been on a bender for a few days and whatever, it will just sit by you and watch Netflix like quite happily for days on end until you move again, and then it's up. Right, it's playtime now. Let's go. It's an extremely rewarding experience, and I felt a bit guilty when she was pregnant, just about to have the babies. Like, she started getting the contractions in the morning. She was visibly uncomfortable, running about the house, doing what they do. And I felt so guilty. I was like, I've done this to her. Like, this is me. And do you know what? The way she took to motherhood, like the second the first one popped out, I mean, she had 7, but the second the first one popped out, she knew what to do. She ripped the casings off him, cleaned him, ate it. Like, I was just like, wow, I'd be depriving that animal of what nature's intended it to do. Like, I went from feeling guilty to, oh my God,
this is amazing.
I should feel guilty if I didn't do it, because they literally they know what to do. It's incredible. Now she's weaning them off. Now they're getting sort of 5-6 weeks old, and it's just an amazing experience having animals. I think it's another dimension to life.
We can learn so much from them as well. Like, we don't have to overcomplicate things sometimes, like in life, and they just survive off like the basic needs, don't they? Sort of food, water, attention, and exercise. Like, that companionship. They just want the basic needs, and we overcomplicate it sometimes with all this stuff and sort of materialistic things and stuff like that. And like, I think that's one thing like COVID's probably taught us a lot, is that actually all that isn't really important. And as long as we've got enough money to have fresh water, eat, and have some companionship, then does the rest of it really matter? It don't, does it? It's the basic things. And we can get so lost in that drive for, and that want that that some people have for the best car and stuff like that. it doesn't bring you happiness, does it really?
Not good at all. Yeah. So what you were saying about COVID's been a bit of a leveler because things that were important are now, everything's changed. Like, so many people have had the rug pulled from under them. I've chose quite a I don't know how to describe it, but an unconventional life. I've tried to make my own way as opposed to just getting a stable and secure job and whatever. But there's people out there at the minute that have had stable and secure jobs. They've took the safe route in life that are going to lose everything. Yeah, and at least I've had the rug pulled from under my feet numerous times. There's people out there that are going to have to deal with this for the first time ever. Maybe gone into a family business that was guaranteed safe for life. And it's going to be a testing situation, I think, for everybody. How have you been affected by all this?
So, we for once timing was perfect because we decided to close Cartwell. We knew when we took Cartwell on that it didn't have a definite a lifetime forever, and it was just going to be see it out for however long it worked. And basically it was however long we could hold off paper price increases, because that's what's driven magazines. Not just, people always think, oh, it's because everything's gone online and it's lack of advertising. Yeah, there's an element of that, but paper price increases are just ridiculous. And it was like, as soon as they get hiked up again, it'll have to be the end of the line. So we had a couple of hikes of them. We'd set the date as the last issue of Cartworld would be February. That went on sale, made staff redundant, paid everything off, and COVID hit. So it was like, because if we'd have had to navigate the last few issues through COVID, I mean, yeah, you'd get it done because you manage everything somehow, don't you? And the other mags managed it, you just make it work. But the timing could not have been more perfect for when we decided to shut up. So the only thing that we had left to sort out with the business really was sell off all the mail ordered gifts, DVDs and books and stuff. Well, everybody was just sat at home, just bored. So I was just like hammering e-shots, Facebook posts, reduced books, DVDs and gifts. And for us, I know it's been really unfortunate for so many people, but for us, the timing worked well for what we were navigating through. So yeah, we made hay while the sun shined, got rid of all the books, DVDs and gifts. There's just me and my brother going into the office, perfect. My brother lives on his own, so he wasn't seeing anybody. So yeah, we just worked within, all the rules and got it all done. But it wasn't, for me, been such like, I've always worked hard and, been office bound and stuff like that. But the rest of my life's always been like pretty free spirit, here, there and everywhere. Never been much of a home bird. Struggle to watch a film. Can't sit still for more than 50 minutes. To be stuck at home in and we've just recently moved into a bigger place, but stuck in what had always been just my little house with Thom and the dog on top of each other. Thom been at home all the time trying to work. That was hard. And not because we rub each other up the wrong way, because we never even had a proper argument. Just that for two people that are used to being here, there and everywhere, been on top of each other, that was hard, like really hard. And I just kept thinking of all these people like with kids and people in a lot smaller houses, people trying to work from home and juggle kids. I just thought, what, I've been extremely, extremely lucky. And there's so many people that, it's been so, so hard for. And the fact that people have just, and I know there's people that have really had to dig deep to struggle on and plough through. But it just shows how resilient people are, and people before would make a big deal out of, some small adverse little situation. I think this has made everybody realise that actually you're pretty resilient and you can adapt, overcome. And I think that's what people can learn from this, is you can achieve and deal with a lot more than you sometimes give yourself credit for. And And yeah, we've just got to look on the bright side when times are hard, haven't we? Everybody's had to go through it together.
It's fantastic for some businesses. I know people.
PPE.
There's a guy that I know in Blackpool actually. He used to print all those crappy T-shirts on the prom. You turn up with 20 girls on a hen night, and she's got Betty Swallocks on the back of your T-shirts or whatever. And he just the second it happened, he put all his machines into making PPE even before they were talking about him, and he's absolutely cleaned up, And
but so should. He's gone and done some, and people are like, oh, it's all right for you made loads of money from COVID. All right, there's people have businesses that were already in existence, but that were sort of for the right thing when COVID hit, but there's also people that have adapted the businesses quickly like that. But he'll have had to make a bit of investment to maybe adapt things. He'll have had to take staff on that. It'll have come with small risks or maybe even big risks to do it, but people are like, oh, it's all right for you. It's like they've had to work hard, they've pulled the finger out, they've gone out and got that, people have had risks to do that. You can't knock people for capitalizing on capitalizing on something in business because it's because of COVID, because you can capitalize on business areas at other times. It's just
business is exactly that. It's
business is business.
You're
the best business people.
Yeah, some people have struggled. I don't think we've even seen the start of the struggles yet. There's companies being propped up by furlough still, and furlough's been extended till whenever it is, October on some level. I know companies, I know people working for companies that they've been told, you're only still here because of furlough. The second that stops, we're closing. That's it, finished. And it's going to be a funny one. So what have you moved into? We'll talk about your sort of England stuff and the ladies in fishing, but your actual day-to-day stuff. Have you managed to find something else then for?
I have. I didn't rush out there looking for anything, and I was actually going to take. So I was going to take a year off. Then COVID hit. So. There's my negative. I didn't get to have my year off, and I was going to go off traveling, and I was going to do all this, and be completely free for a year, and that never worked out. I didn't go looking for anything. I got a few offers from people, things which politely declined, not things I wanted to do. And then, if you heard of Kumu, the clothing band, what used to be on the beaten track, you will have been to your show. I've known Steve that started it and Dave that's now involved with it for a number of years. We supported Steve when he first started on the beaten track, and I think one of the lads in the office showed me this cool design. They'd seen it on Instagram. Like, look at this is cool. Do you remember the Dex rig that they did?
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, that is pretty cool. That's some pretty nifty design work. It's a little bit more than the logo on a t-shirt, here's another Fruit of the Loom t-shirt with a fishing logo on it. I was like, so we got really excited about it, me and some of the guys in the office. And we used to like helping. People always used to think Carp Talk was if you paid advertising money, you got in Carp Talk. And it wasn't like that. It was like, if you sent us something, we would put it in the magazine and then give it away. So we still had some benefits to the magazine. But you get people that are like, oh, can you feature this? It's like, oh, well, can you send us one to give away? Oh, well, no, we haven't got any budget to give them away. And it's like, well, we haven't got any budget to give you any space then, because we're not benefiting anything for our readers from you having that free advertising in the magazine. There's got to be some give. We can't just give everything away for free. So we contacted them and said, would you be up for giving a couple of the mugs away? And we'll put you in the trade talk, was what we called it at the time. And he was like, yeah, oh my God, that'd be amazing. And it was just a relationship that built from there. I think, Instagram was pretty heavy that time. And I was like, this is really cool, sharing it on Instagram stories and what have you. And just built up a really nice, relationship with Steve, the guy behind it. And he'd always, send me the latest, new gear. We'd put it in the mag. I'd share it on the stories. And it was just really nice to help a nice person trying to grow a small business. And it just over the years worked with him more closely and got to know him as a friend. And then back end of last year, him and Dave contacted me and said, we're looking to take the business to the next step and try and get into shackle shops. we've really wanted to ask you to work with us for years. We'd thought about approaching you to do the social media stuff, and I didn't realise Steve had sounded me out about it, and I'd had a good whinge about social media and said how much I hated doing it for the magazines, and I was glad to going to see the back of it and all the negativity, and I won't have to be on there all the time. So he thought, actually, I won't ask him about doing the social media because he's ready to get rid of doing it. So they said, would you be interested in trying to help us get into the tackle shops and you managing that side of things? And I thought, yeah, do you know what? That'd be really nice. I've always enjoyed working with the guys at the tackle shops. I think, and are you aware of the Air Group, which is some of the independent tackle shops that have come together to try and highlight and reinforce the importance of your local tackle shops and driving traffic into them, and the importance of sort of what they hold within the angling community. And I'd straight away, when these guys launched that, I was like, that's really important. You know, we need to sort of make sure these local tackle shops are supported, they don't die out, that people know the importance of when they want to go find out about a fishing rod, they want to look at it, that, you know, rather than pestering, you know, people online saying, oh, what do you think of the latest fishing rod? Go into your local tackle shop, speak to the guys. When you want to know where to go fishing in the local area, you know, go into your local tackle shop. There's nothing like the knowledge of a local tackle shop for the fishing in that area. And it's like, I get random messages from people, and it's lovely to get messages from people asking questions, but like, oh, where can I go fishing in like Gloucester? It's like, I live in Yorkshire. I've been fishing in Gloucestershire, I think, twice. It's like,
I get the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think, I'm not the, you know, the walking AA page. You know, it's like, I could name you about 3 places that I've been to in Gloucester, you know, and you know what it's like. You worked in the industry, and, you know, we're in a very fortunate position that we've probably fished the places that are the hardest to get onto. We don't know, like, the, you know, the little day tickets and the little like club waters and, you know, all those little businesses that really need the support in Gloucester. We don't know them, but the tackle shops do, because they're in touch with that little grapevine. So yeah, anyway, complete tangent there, but so I was really passionate about, like, you know, what the Air Group were trying to do, and they came on board and have sponsored the ladies carp team going forward. So there was that lovely tie in there with the tackle shops. And so yeah, when Steve and Dave offered me this role at Kumu, I was like, yeah, do you know what, that's something that'll be really nice. Just 1 or 2 days a week, and, you know, let's see where it goes. So snap the hand off at that. And then real back end of last year, I got a phone call from somebody asking if it would be okay to put me in touch with some guys that were launching some tech stuff to the angling world. And it was one of those conversations where it must have caught me in a good day, where I was being open-minded, because over the years I've had so many people say we're launching some really cool tech into the angling industry. And, you know, you sat on the phone with them and they've got a really good idea, but they've not either had the idea for where it's going to be in the long term, they've not had the financials backing, and it's like, a wonderful idea. I've had ideas like that, but, you know, I've not got £1 million to invest in it, so it's never going to go anywhere. And, you know, in the technology world, unless you can keep putting investment in something, and it's got a long-term plan, then it's difficult. You can't build a little bit of tech and just keep it growing smallly here, there and everywhere. You've got to go in hard, and it's got to be good from the start, and then you grow from there. So I'd had loads of these conversations, and I just, for some reason, I was like, yeah, I must have been really open, you know, good day, you know, feeling positive and ready to, you know, take on a new challenge. I was like, yeah, hook me up. Anyway, I spoke to these guys, and they're actually doing everything right. They're from the tech world, coming into the angling industry with a really good, solid idea. What's ready to launch on day one is perfect, and the growth scale and the perspective of where it can grow to encompasses everything in angling. But their ethos behind it is getting more people fishing more often. And their values and what's important to them is just everything that resonated with me, which is that we've we've got a sport which we're all passionate about, and technology is missing from that, joining everything together. And I think that when they said that to me, I was just like, yeah, let's find out more. So I had a chat with these guys, and yeah, that's filling the rest of my time, and it's pretty cool. So I won't delve into it too much because it's not fully out there yet.
Super curious, super curious as to where it's going.
It's something for anglers and it's something for fisheries. Online platform obviously will be fully functional for all mobiles, everything like that. But from a fishery perspective, it's a fishery management tool. So it does everything from, like, I know there's some online booking systems out there now, which is needed. You know, there's the competition having other online booking systems is good for us, because it makes sure that what we're doing is going to be the best online booking system. But this has also got inbuilt marketing functions, so the ability to send push notifications, the built-in calendars, swim management, online reporting, analytics, so that some of these fisheries, they've not got any sort of business background or business knowledge, and to be able to do things like forecasting for months down the line, looking at tools like that, just basic like analytics reporting, for them to be able to just pull it off and look at compare last year to this year, just things like that.
Is it something I could use for my like holiday company? Would it
100%,
transfer
yeah.
for that?
Talk
to me about that.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at things. Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. But then from an angler perspective, it's they're going to be able to book swims, and you know what that's like as an angler. Sometimes you don't even know where to go, and that's the most asked question I've ever got is, where can I go fishing so and so? So it's using all the latest AI technology to basically to search, find and discover about fisheries, then book your fishery, basically have everything in one place, all your tickets, all your information, record your catches, record everything about your fishing world in one place. So yeah, it's really cool bit of tech. So
online BK guide to carp fishing.
Yeah, do you remember that? That
was a Bible to me when I was young, and you don't know where to go. I thought the Colne Valley was an actual place, not like an area. You read it in Hutch's book and stuff. It's like, where's this Colne Valley? I was looking on maps and stuff for this place called Colne Valley. It's like that BK guide. I remember it when I think it was 15, when we moved from like the area that I grew up fishing in Cheshire. Prince Albert Angling Society was all their waters, great club boat. Moved to Gloucestershire, Warwickshire, Gloucestershire border, and I bought the BK guide with me. Like, it was around that time it had come out, and I found this lake, Addlestrop Lake, on it, and it had this description in there about how they used to wash sheep in there, like back in the day. And I was just like, wow, it was an absolute Bible. What a great book that was.
But you remember? I always remember for the price for the book. I always remember people used to say, well, it's really expensive. And it's like, yeah, because the amount of time and effort that's gone into collating all that information, it needs to be that price for it to make it, viable for them to do. But yeah, God, what a day when everything was sort of in there. But like, you look around online and there's loads of like little directories of, carp fisheries and then coarse fisheries and stuff like that. But the problem with that is that, yes, it's all very well and great, and essentially having a book, like a book replicated online with all the information, but information dates so quickly now. And we did it, we spent ages collating 500 carp waters through Carp Talk, and as soon as that book's gone on sale, it's out of date.
Yeah.
It's because people's mobile numbers have changed, people don't renew the website. It's frightening. I've been obviously delving into the world of fisheries and stuff, and the amount of businesses that have got a Facebook page that has got a website link on their Facebook bio, but you go to click on the website link and they've they've had the website at one point, but then they've not renewed it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's your business's profile online. Everybody goes online now to find out about a business, but yet your website isn't even registered anymore.
Yeah, or it's 4 years out of date, especially with like catch reports, people looking for size of fish. I mean, I've been looking recently for lakes. I've spent a bit more time in England than I'd planned to. And, you know, you're looking at the website, you're seeing the sizes of fish and stuff, and they've not been updated 4 or 5 years. And it's just like, wow, you know, this is your business. And clubs, they're not short of money. You know, they've got money from the memberships, but quite often it's not having the, you know, unless it's somebody in house doing your tech, then, you know, you've got to go and find your guy again. He might not have any time. You then got to pay him, you know, maybe as much as it costs you to set the website up in the first place, to like overhaul it and revamp it. So is this going to help with all that kind of stuff? Is it going to be?
So it's basically, for a fishery, it will be technology on the most basic level for them to have a platform online that sells their fishery in the best way possible, and it is cheap as chips. Like, for a fishery to be on there, it is next to nothing. The functionality and the ability it will give them to promote themselves to the angling world is phenomenal. And for any fishery not to do it, it'd be stupid. You know, we've been speaking to, I won't mention them on this, but we've been speaking to obviously the big fisheries from the off blocks, and you know, there's a number of them signed up already. For them, it's going to be being able to manage, sort of streamline things and manage stuff so much easier, because a big fisheries problem is the amount of time it takes for them to manage stuff, and a lot of them are still just doing it by bits of paper, spreadsheets, stuff like that. But for little fisheries, you know, it's easy to manage things by bits of paper because they're not as busy, but they struggle to sort of get their voice out there and speak to people because they haven't got time to do, you know, Facebook posts and, like you say, websites and stuff like that. And the cost behind it, you know, it's hard to do yourself. It's expensive to get anybody else to do it, so it just gets forgotten about. So yeah, it's going to give them the ability to do it from, you know, the PC in, you know, you could essentially set your profile up in an hour or so, you know, if you're quick at typing and you've got all your pictures and stuff to hand, and you can update it as much as you want. You can update it, you know, within seconds. You can change your whole profile of your fishery, you know, within a night, and keep things up to date and fresh. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really exciting, and it's taking everything I've been passionate about in angling, which is, you know, growing angling and making sure that it's inclusive for everybody and getting fresh people coming in and keeping the people that, you know, dip into it occasionally, keeping them in it for longer, you know, and it's going to have all that built into it. Because I think you look at other sports, you look at like running, golf and stuff like that, and there's loads of cool tech around, even like things like Strava. You know, I don't have Strava purposely because I haven't got the time to go down that Strava rabbit hole looking what other people are doing. When there's kids that have been fishing once or twice, and then, you know, they come home and, you know, they play on these all the time, don't they? Unless they're watching stuff on YouTube, there isn't anything else to sort of pull them into that little angling world, is there, for them to get lost in? And I think that's where we fall back sometimes in angling. We don't have some really good tech to pull them in and keep them interacting and stuff like that. Yeah, you could let your kids loose on Facebook, but I mean, God, do you really want Facebook angling on Facebook to be a representation of our sport? Because when I read stuff, I just think, no, you can. It makes me not want to go in angling when I look at some of the stuff that goes on Facebook.
It's quite funny. When we first started the Carp Cast, Mark and I, it's probably 5 years ago now, it was, you know, we were still quite early with some of the tech that's pretty normal now in the carp fishing industry, you know, from underwater filming and stuff. There's all sorts of things that have come in that were kind of new then. And I remember we had a kind of half jokey conversation about day ticket lakes should put webcams up in the swims. So if you could have a webcam in each swim. So if you're booked onto, this is what I'm thinking now, you should be looking at, and maybe you're already doing it. But if you're booked on, let's say, linear swim, whatever, on St. John's, and there's a camera up that end of the lake, whereas for 3 days before you arrive, you can sit and watch the water. You can actually sit at home, getting up at first light every morning, have a look, see if there's any fish showing. Actually, they're around the corner in this swim. Oh, it might be that one's free. I can book that one or whatever. Something like that actually seems very, very viable now. Have you got ideas that are kind of not the same as that maybe, but things that are going to add value to your
and as time goes on, and like with any tech, it keeps developing to bring in new exciting things to keep it fresh. So there's loads of scope, and we've got loads of ideas of what's going to happen down the line. As phase 1 gets built and phase 2 gets built and phase 3 gets built, there's some really cool things, and just like things like interactive maps. You go to linear and everybody wants an interactive map, don't they? You go to linear and you want to know the spots, the best bait, the best this, the best that, because, and I completely get why people want all that information, because time is very precious for people, and you get so many anglers that they only get, maybe one weekend every month, maybe even less, 48 hours, it's the time away from work, time away from a busy family life, and they want to be able to turn up somewhere and try and, know that they're going to have the best session and the best possible chance of catching. And you get all the purists that are like, oh, you're not doing it properly, that's not what fishing's all about. And it's like, that's that person's pastime, his escape from reality, his time to himself, and if that's what he wants to be able to go with in his armoury to give him the best chance of catching, who are we to take that away from him and say that he shouldn't have all that information? It's his hobby at the end of the day. And the plan is to be able to have that built in, so when people turn up at the day ticket, they've got the best chance of catching safely, efficiently, and without upsetting other anglers, because they know the swim boundaries, they know the little spots in that swim, so they can potentially get a rod on that spot and have the best chance of catching, so they can find out the going bait and what's been caught recently and all that stuff, and information that essentially people used to piece together through Carp Talk Catch Report.
I was just thinking that.
But nobody had a problem when it was in a Carp Talk Catch Report form. But if you put it all on a website, it's just cheating, it's too easy.
Are they looking at doing Europe as well, or just UK?
No, Europe, yeah. Everything. It will be, and not just carp, it will be across the board.
There's company Carp Circle that are looking at doing something similar for the public lakes across Europe. But it's interesting because KWO kind of do a bit of that as well, don't they? I think Piers and Hoffman and stuff. But it's interesting. It's good to see this sort of stuff happening in angling. Like I said, tech from other sectors coming in, because we were talking just before about the shows and stuff before we started recording. But the industry, it's by the majority of the business is by keen anglers that have seen a gap, we need luggage or we need this, and they're not necessarily business people. But now we have people, experts in the tech field, that are addicted to fishing, that are trying to marry the two up, I guess. I mean, that's where it's going, but it is changing, like kind of our era of the last 20-30 years of where carp fishing's really blossomed. I feel like it's running away now. There's people with far more knowledge than I've got, doing stuff like this, things that I'm not capable of doing. Most things I've looked at in the fishing thing, if you'd have had the idea first, you were capable of doing it. You look at all the success stories from Danny Fairbrass starting with a bucket of leads to, Kevin making carp sacks, and, just because he had a bit of an engineering mind and he was a fisherman, and his missus, was a seamstress or whatever she was. And most of the stories come from that. I spoke with Lockie, similar story for Solar, how they came up. But we could have all done that if we were in that position and we had that, bit of aptitude, or that, everybody's got a niche in their background that's kind of paved their way. We're now looking at, experts for things that I'm never capable of my whole life, without studying. Now coming into the fishing industry, there's now enough money in fishing, videographers, people that you've obviously seen what Elliot's doing at Sipography, and KWO do something very similar. I mean, this is next level to what's kind of been going on in the past in angling, I think. But there's now enough money in it. It's viable, I know what people are paying for 30-minute films, 1-hour films now, not just monetizing from YouTube. I'm talking about there's companies actually buying professional content now because there is a market with this technology. Are they looking at doing any sort of video and stuff on the site? Is it just going to be this kind of information?
No,
or
all going to be
everything?
You think of, so the people that are developing the app develop for Amazon, Coca-Cola, people like that, like big bits of tech. And the guys that are behind it have got 100 years so there's 3 guys behind it. They've got 100 years of working in the technology development industry, so they know what they're doing. There's a business plan that is far, that's beyond the lifetime of any of us, kind of thing. And all of that's to come. And it's, even just down to, they told me when they first started the idea, and it came from a frustration of not actually turning up to lakes. And when you get there, it's full, because there's no way of finding out if anywhere's full until you get there. And you think, and they were like, what dark ages are we living? It's like, you wouldn't just turn up to a hotel these days, would you? And be like, can I get a room? If you just go on booking.com while you're walking the streets thinking about where the fucking hell am I in the world right now? I'm tired, I need a hotel. And you just go onto, an app, wouldn't you, and find it out. But fishing's just, in the dark ages.
It always has been.
Frustration.
We joked before about people running big companies that can't open PDF files or reply to emails. They just don't know how to do it. But they, these people are not having a pop at anybody. It's just the fact that it's not businessmen into fishing. It's people that have been kind of had to do what they're doing, because no one else was doing it, and we needed it. But I think we're past that level now. A lot of these companies have been sold on now. Solar, I'm presuming Nash may do at some point. Fox, then maybe Danny will let the next generation take over Cord, or selling it to an American company, which seems to be what's happening.
Popular.
But I think this is the last generation of being able to kind of get something going. It's being took over by, as you said, I mean, who can compete with that expertise? You're saying that these people are working with, they got all that experience between 3 guys in a sector that that they're very competent in outside of fishing. Then I couldn't just decide, that's a good idea, I fancy doing that as well. Like, it's just not going to happen, is it?
No. And that's like, and I think that's what, when I spoke to the guys, and I thought, these guys know what they're doing. Talk me through the business plan, taught me, what was going to be what was initially going to be launched, then, where they wanted to go afterwards, and so many of sort of my concerns within angling, but also what I was passionate about, which is essentially, I always say, I want to get more people fishing, and get more people involved in our sport, but selfishly, I want to get more women involved in the sport, because how I've seen it grow in the past 5 years, I want to see it flourish, and I want to see more and more women just getting outside as well. I just want to see more women getting outside, enjoying those benefits. And it's always been like a confidence thing I've found with women when it's going fishing. It's like they don't feel confident enough to just do it on their own or have a go, and
so do you think that's because it's a male dominated industry, or do you just think it's because it's something new to them that's generally not little girls grow up playing with Barbie dolls, the stereotypes I'm talking about, misogynistic as we know now?
I think there's an element of a few things. I think there's that it's stepping out of the norm and what people think women should do, because you know me, and I think that there's no limits to what anybody should do. Anybody can do whatever they bloody want. But there's still those stereotypes still exist, don't they? And I think there is there's physical differences between men and women. Whenever generally going to be as strong as men. But there's also the massive thing that I found, you know, I've worked in a male-dominated industry, and it's all I've ever known, and I've now got to spend a lot of time with women trying to encourage them to do something, and there's two massive differences. Men generally tend to be a lot more self-confident. They just have more confidence, whereas generally women are a lot more insecure and just don't believe in themselves and don't believe they can do things, whereas men are a lot more gung-ho. Yeah, I can do that, I'll have a crack at that, yeah, I'm the best. You know, they never picked up a golf club before, but they're telling you they're going to be the best at it, whereas women are like, oh, no, I've never picked up a golf club before, I won't be very good at it. And
do you think that just comes from thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years of that kind of, it's misogyny, isn't it? There's no other.
Yeah, I think it is just generally something.
Men do the important stuff, women clean up after them. You know, that's kind of how it was. So do you think that's just what it is? Because women are clearly capable. I mean, I've studied psychology for the last 10 years, armchair level, but there is no difference in IQ and intelligence between men and women. We're exactly the same, you know. Yeah, there are some physical limitations, but again, that could have been evolutionary, genetic, because men kind of went out and did the hunting at the start. Women were the gatherers and men were the hunters. Would women be the same physically size, the same size as men physically if they'd have done it from all that stuff from the off? I don't know. We're going to see.
You don't know, do we? Going back to the touching on the endurance thing as well. So there's some quite cool studies that have been done on this. But as you sort of go further and further into the endurance thing, and so as you go running longer and longer, the gap between men and women closes. And they're currently trying to sort of suggest that, is there going to become a point at, you start running like 500, 700 miles, that actually women are the stronger species when it comes to that endurance. Because, and there's all sorts of things they've touched on. Is it, how women's bodies are built for sort of childbirth and child carrying and stuff like that, the more they can endure that sort of steady state cardio for longer than men. And there's all sorts of things looking at that. But I genuinely think that confidence thing is it's from thousands of years ago, and it's just built into women that is, that they're just not. It's coming because when kids are little, girls are equally as confident as boys, but it just seems that, and don't get me wrong, there's, I know loads of friends that, and loads of women that, don't sort of fit into this sort of rule kind of thing, but, and loads of guys that, are confident, but as a general rule, guys are just gung-ho and like, yeah, I'm the best, and women are like real tentative about things. And that's what I found a lot when you get women involved with it, and they don't want to be seen to doing things wrong, and they're scared of what other people are going to see, where if they cast and make a bad cast, and they're embarrassed about casting up a tree, and it's like, it's just telling everybody that the best anglers do shit casts. I've been there fishing with the Carp Team England lads and watched them cracking off time and time again, and the difference is they don't let it get to them, and they don't make a big deal out of it, whereas women fret about things. Like they generally tend to be like fretters, and they let things get to them, and then of course you'll get the odd daft lad, oh, they cracked off, and that just knocks the confidence straight away. Whereas generally guys would be like, oh, I cracked off, I'll come and crack you out, all the daft things that guys come out with, the bravo, the sort of the macho stuff. And I just want to be able to instill that bit of confidence in and just say to the women, it's like, I've literally sat with the best of the best anglers and watched them cast up trees, watched them crack off, watched them make the stupidest mistakes, watched them forget, to stick a, one of my favourite Crowy stories that he always tells is about fishing over, I think it was on Reduta with Rod Hutchinson, and Hutchie winding his rod in to find that he didn't actually have a hook on. He'd been fishing, without a hook on. He's been one of the best anglers in the world, in carp fishing, one of the greatest anglers ever to have been. And he's there fishing, without a hook. We all make mistakes when you're human. But and I think
every angler I know, I've this chat with Roger, and recently he's been fishing. Like, you get them nightmare days. Everything goes wrong. You you crack off, you tie up, it cracks off again, you put one in the tree, this goes wrong, you get it right, you catch the marker float on the way in, it wipes out all your other rods. Like, there's no angler like, you're lying if you say you don't have them days. But it's making women feel and this maybe goes for children as well, and anybody we should be encouraging into the sport. It's making some sort of level of acceptance. It's just normalising what we're doing,
normalising,
so that it's inclusive for everybody. So, what are the steps that you're doing? I mean, I've seen you been very busy, sort of championing the women's cause, and it annoys me when it's like, well, why are they doing this especially for women? It's the same sort of mentality of people are going with the Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, all lives matter, yeah, but all lives aren't actually being dragged down at the minute. It's one particular group, so we're focusing on them to bring them up to even, not to single them out for special treatment. Well,
you could go as far as the people that say that, and it's like, all right, so when you're having your special June the 16th night at the Carp Lake on Yateley, why aren't we all invited? That's your little club. Nobody's arguing that you can't have your special night, but so we can have a special event that's just that's just about getting women into the sport. So one of the guys that I'd met through sort of the charity match circuit, actually a guy called Andy Lobel, came to me 5 years ago now and said, I've had this idea for a women's women's tuition event. He said, and he was working for the Angling Trust at the time. He said, I've been to the Angling Trust about it, and they said they've got no budget for it, they're not interested. Do you fancy having a crack at doing something? And straight away I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make it work. Spoke to Mike at Poolbridge Farm up in York, and he was like, yeah, you can do it here. Let's do it. So 3 of us pulled it together. I think the first year, so it'd be, I think we're 2017 now, 2018, I can't remember. And I think we had 12 ladies, and I think we had 4 tutors. And just we pulled together this weekend event, and it was mega. We had a bit of tuition, we had a social barbecue on the first night, tuition on the Saturday, then we went into like a friendly match, and it was really, really good. Feedback from the girls was good. We had such a mixed bag of ladies, a couple that had barely even picked up a fishing rod before, some that had gone with the dad when they were younger that were getting back into fishing but didn't really know how to find their feet, some that had been with the boyfriends but never felt confident to go on their own. A right mixed bag. It was like straight away we could see that the demand was there and that this was it was going to grow. So just grew it from there. The next year we had double amount of people. Following year, I think we had sort of maximised the amount of people we could have on Q Lake. We've had casting days, we've had social events, and just growing that sort of that women's community. And it's as much as anything about getting them to meet each other, so then they can form like little subgroups in their area and stuff like that, and go on to sort of meeting up regularly and just having friends within the sport. Like you've got, how many guy mates have you got within the fishing industry, and it's about them being able to have female mates as well as guy mates in a hobby that they're passionate about, because it sort of solidifies that hobby in you, doesn't it, when you've got mates that are doing the same thing, and that's the really sort of the nice thing about it. But then so I had big plans for last year, because obviously work commitments weren't going to be as much, and then COVID hit, so it sort of stopped everything on its tracks. But I did a little bit of adding up the other day, because you get in your head that you've maybe, and I'm really rubbish with remembering names of people, and I'd sort of got in my head that we've seen a fair few girls over the past few years, few ladies come through, and I've never sort of added up how many different individuals it was that had been to the events and worked it out, and just different women that had booked onto the events and attended. There was just over 100 different, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you think, well, actually that's just the ones that have attended the Ladies Carp Academy events. Then there's girls that I've bumped into at shows, women that I've met at other events, women that have contacted me online, and then just Instagram's pretty cool because you seem to find people easier on Instagram than you do on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just, you know, other women out there angling on their own, angling with the boyfriends, you know, taking their kids fishing. It's, you go back 10 years and there was probably you could probably name them on two hands, you know, the women out there angling. You go back 15 years and there was Joe Green, Mary Crouch and a couple of others, and that was it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's changed drastically. My mate Dave's trying to ring. He's fishing on the park. I went to see him before with the dog, and I'm guessing the only reason for him to ring is he's actually caught one.
He's had one.
He must have done. Yeah, to be honest, the lad opposite. It's only about 100 carp in there in like 35 acres, but the lad opposite had one while I was there. Actually, I tried to take a bit of video from the other side of the lake, but
my Thom was there. Bless him. We've got to that point in the relationship where it's like we don't really bother with presents anymore. You know, you're just giving a present for the sake of giving a present the next time, aren't you?
I'm like that from day one. It's just pointless. Let's go on a night out, but it's the thought that counts. No, you're going to buy something. I'm going to pretend to like it. I'm going to buy something for you.
If you need something yourself, you buy yourself it, don't you? Because it's like, right, I need it now. I'll just get it ordered. You know, me and my brother stopped buying each other presents years ago, and we don't do cards. You know, buying cards. You know, cards covered in plastic that you then just put up for a week and then they go in the bin and half of them can't be recycled. And like, one of the things in recent years that I've tried to be massively more concerned about is like my impact on the environment and stuff like that. And I think as anglers, actually, we should all be a little bit more concerned about that because, you know, you get anglers everywhere that claim to love the great outdoors and stuff, but then, you know, they've got complete disregard for what they're doing with the rubbish and stuff like that and just leaving it in swims. Anyway, side point. Yeah, and he was taking a piss out of my phone because he got himself a new phone a while back, and he was like, your pictures are shit. And obviously living with a photographer that takes, you know, and I won't big him up too much, but he does take pretty good photos. And he'd be like, what is that photo? You can't put that photo anywhere. And I'm like, just leave my camera phone alone, you know. Stop taking the piss out of my camera phone. Anyway, and he'd said about a year ago, I'll buy you a new phone, babe. And then nothing ever happened. So obviously that was like a wind-up point for me. I was like, oh, my new phone's amazing. And everybody, I'd be like, Tom told me he was getting me a new phone. Still waiting for it. No. He pulled it out of the bag before Christmas and he was like, I've got you a new phone. And it is the iPhone 12 Fandangle thing. Bloody hell, like the camera difference between that and the one I had before. They're
incredible, aren't they? If you download that camera app, it's free. You get it on your computer and your phone. Then you just plug your phone into the computer and it's your webcam. Cool. Just works as a webcam. Yeah, it's really good. But going back to the ladies, do you think there's obviously the first kind of, other than these sort of really good anglers, Joe Greens and stuff that have kind of always been into it for fishing's sake, there's a definite trend on Instagram and stuff where, you know, you can get a girl that's pleasing to the eye that hasn't got that much experience in fishing, and they've got 5 times the followers that I've got. You know, someone that's fished for 30 odd years, you know, has caught some of the, you know, known fish in the country. Like, and so do you think that kind of side of it, where they're clearly capitalizing on a male dominated market and know how to work, you know, their raunchiness or whatever, do you think that generally does women's angling harm, or do you think it's something that, you know, other women can look at and go, there are other people doing it?
You get that in other industries, don't you? And I bet you get it in like the music industry, for example. You get a DJ that's, you know, she can, you know, mix, but she's fit. And everybody's like, oh, she's fit, she's amazing, she's the next best thing. And actually,
she gets all the jobs, you know.
She gets all the jobs, you know, 'cause she's pleasing on the eye. And I think it's, for me, that's frustrating in a way, because it highlights the negativity of social media, that if you're essentially easy on the eye, you can potentially earn money just for being pleasing on the eye from something that you're not even any good at, you've not got any knowledge on, but people are willing to throw money at you just to market their products. But that's, you know, that's social media and that's the world, you know, so we can moan about it all we want.
It's the world, but it's what we're trying to level, you know, with
it's
equality.
what we're trying to level, yeah.
You know,
which
we're
is...
trying to say it shouldn't matter that you're a male or a female. You know, most guys are attractive to girls, most girls are attractive to guys. Like, so, you know, it's the same for very good looking men. You know, they have a definite advantage in life over less good looking people. You know, you get people that physically back away from unattractive people, you know, who might have a lot to offer a situation, a job role, or whatever that is. So my opinion is, the reason why I asked it is because I see that side of it. There's a bit of resentment there from some men. It's like, you know, what's this person got to offer as an angler? And yet, you know, they've got 20,000 followers. And then I've seen it where some of these girls that they're, you know, there's a German girl, she's took a mate fishing once and said, right, let's get her followers up to, you know, a decent amount. Within a month, she's got 10,000 followers. You know, I've been working hard on Instagram. I've got 3,000, you know.
But then you've got to think, what does that say about the guys that have followed her? You know,
this is the problem, isn't it? Because it's supply and demand. Like, guys want to look at attractive women, and, you know, all right, I'd never been interested in a calendar, let's say, like the old ones used to get in garages, you know, and when you get your car fixed. There's now fishing ones, isn't there? You know, women, big boobs that have never been fishing in their life, like naked, holding a fishing rod with no line on it or something.
Yeah,
you know?
And it just looks completely unrealistic, and you can tell they're not even an angler.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we used to laugh at those calendars in the office. I mean, they're great, and, you know, we used to have them pinned up, you know, a bit of fun. It's light-hearted fun, isn't it? And I think people take all these things too seriously.
But does it undermine the effort to what you're trying to do, is legitimately normalise fishing for women, and to try and, you know, because the tackle companies should be supporting this, but if they're selling all their stuff to men, you know, there's just as many women out there that might like fishing. They can sell double the amount of gear.
Frustrated me. And I've obviously working on the industry, I get to hear about messages that have been sent to companies by some of these people saying, I've got so many followers on Instagram, I can do this X, Y, that, you know, XYZ for your business. You know, I've got more followers than so and so, you know, and, you know, people saying, you know, they can turn around and say, I've got more followers than, you know, Louise Bowles, you know, Sharpie's missus. You know, well, so what if you've got more followers? But you can't, you know, you've got no credible carp catching skills like she has. You know, if you put somebody side by side next to Lou and said, you know, go fish this water and see who gets on better, you know, they won't stand a chance, because they've come into it. They're, you know, been fishing for 5 minutes, but because they're attractive and, you know, they like wearing, you know, a pleasing tops and stuff like that, then they've gained a load of followers, and therefore companies think, oh, well, she's got a load of followers, she can get our message out there about our new fandangled pop-ups. You know, we can make a load of money on the back of it. And all right, yeah, from a business perspective, great business perspective, from an industry perspective and what, you know, we should be trying to promote, and it's not right, is it? You know, it's not a great message to be putting out there, and it's the sex sells message, and that it's a bit 10 years old, that, isn't it? You know, don't get me wrong, you know, we've all been done, it's been done, we've lived that part of life, you know, back in the day, you know, the old solar adverts, and, you know, I think Eric's did some at the time, and, you know, they're funny, and I can see the funny side of it, and it never upsets me, you know, it never, you know, I'm not one of these, you know, feminists that gets, you know, upset and hurt by it, because I can see that it's marketing at the end of the day, but it's not going to encourage us to get more women into our sport on a level playing field. And likewise, you know, if I wanted to market to a loads of women and I used half naked David Beckham as a representation of an angler, you know, there aren't any anglers that, you know, have got, there's a handful of anglers that have got, you know, that are ripped and shredded, because you can't spend the time in the gym and on the bank catching fish, can you? You know, I can think of about 5, you know, because I used to jokingly monitor them in Carp Talk, you know.
I've heard, Crowley bubbled you up for that once upon a time, told me.
Yeah, but you know, what's wrong with that? You know, but it's
normal human nature, but you know, if we're trying to normalise fishing for women, you know, and reduce the gender gap in as many ways as we can, then women that are going out selling themselves for marketing and not being unfair here because she is an extremely accomplished angler now, but take a look at Claudia Darga, which kind of covers both. You know, she's pleasing on the eye, she's a serious angler, and she's got some marketing skills. You know, she sent us marketing packs for the Northern Angling Show and stuff. You know, we've had her up on stage as a headline sponsor, and she's the real deal. She covers everything. You know, she's a good angler. She looks good, and her marketing skills are second to none. We've never had somebody with as professional a thing. You know, on this day when I get off the plane, I'll make an Instagram story here and I'll do this here. It was a full-blown marketing thing. She clearly has herself or has been working with somebody with a marketing background, and she's working it to her advantage. She's sponsored by, you know, she gets a car every year off bloody Subaru. Or
she is what, you know, and she's an influencer, isn't she? That's, you know, she's made a business out of it, and you know, stuff like that. And I think somebody had said that, you know, there's a other half that sort of manages it and stuff with her. Right. And I think they've said, you know, she's got a lifeline in it, and they're going to make, you know, as much money out of it while they can, and then, you know, capitalize on it, which again, you know, good business. But it's the things that frustrate me is the ones that, I mean, we've seen it loads, you know, we flash the gas, flash in the pan, yeah, next best thing. But you see that on the guys' side as well. They come along and they're all, I'm going to be the next big thing, you know. And they're doing
that to other men, and they're not trying to appeal to women, are they? You know, the biggest turn off in the world is to have a Tinder profile picture holding a fish. You know, it's.
I know, and I really feel for people, but maybe, you know, because I've never been on a dating app. I'd never got sort of round to it and sort of thought, do you know what, I want to meet somebody, and you know, I'll have a look on Tinder or whatever. But I've been through loads of my mates, you know, but been on the banks with loads of my guy mates when they've been on dating websites. And I'm like, let me have a look, and they're like, don't press any buttons, and I'm like, no, obviously not. What happens if I press this button? Cliffy, don't press that button. And they're like, and I'm like, why have you not got a picture? Why have you not got any fishing pictures? And they're like, honestly, you cannot have fishing pictures. And I'm like, what's wrong with it? You know, it shows that you're outdoorsy, and you know, you like doing, you know, you've got hobbies and stuff like that. And they're like, fishing does not go well on dating websites. I'm like,
it does not. There's women's profiles on there that specifically say, if you are holding a fish, do not swipe right. There's a lot of them.
See, that's what we need to strive for in angling, is to make fishing a bit more cool. You know, if you were playing football, you know, kicking a football, everybody would be like, oh, look at him, you know, he's sporty, he's athletic, you know, he's got loads of qualities, he's got a hobby. You know, because when you go for a job, people always look at you know, you've got long-term hobbies, because it shows that, you know, you can be committed and that you've got interests outside of work and, you know, things like that. Well, what's wrong with fishing being a hobby? Because everybody still thinks of like the two old blokes sat on the riverbank eating the sandwiches, don't they?
That's a bigger fishing problem. I think that is getting a bit better. You know, it must be, because the amount of men that are happy having their profile pictures as fish like is a lot more. You know, I've spent 20 years never telling any prospective girlfriend, you know, that I even went fishing, let alone knew it existed. You know, it's.
You can imagine some of the comments I've had, and like, again, like, some people get really upset by these comments, but obviously I, like, you know, you'd be sat in the hairdressers, and my hairdresser, bless her, she calls me the fisher lady because she don't get it. So anybody that goes into the hairdressers, and you know, when I'm not there, and they'll be like, oh, my husband goes fishing, and she goes, I've got a client, she's a fisher lady, you should see how big the fish are that she catches. And I just think, oh, I'm glad I'm not there.
So what's the answer? Like, obviously, but you know, I'm glad you're kind of in agreement, because I've always felt that these girls that are literally selling sex to fishermen, you know, to gain these followings, and then it's disappointing when companies jump on them. I don't know if I'm going to throw one under the bus right now, but okay,
this is a Carp Cast. You always throw people under the bus.
okay. So I noticed last year Wolf, which is you know, a spin-off from Fox. It's a family member of Cliff Fox. Won't go too far under the bus because they do pay us money to come to the Northern Angling Show. But all these kind of women influencer, less, you know, more about the looks than the experience or ability type fishermen. They took them all on last year or the year before. I noticed 6 or 7 of them.
This is my spin on it. So say a company like that, or any other company that's done it, they're a company that's trying to grow and use online marketing, any marketing platform to grow, to get serious anglers to buy into their band and buy expensive products. Do they really think that they're going to get the growth and the return on that investment that they want by utilising those people? Because yes, those girls may look pretty and have a nice smile, but would you respond to them in an advert being a lifetime angler and who could potentially be interested in Wool's products? Because, you know, let's face it, they've got the potential to bring really good products to market, because it's, you know, Fox have had, you know, a lifetime of working in this industry. So the products aren't going to be shit. But if their marketing's shit, they're not going to get what they want.
Exactly. It disappointed me. It seemed like a cheap shot, and I don't want to throw just them under the bus, because it
there's
happens.
Loads of them.
Yeah, we're all aware of it, and the girls that are just selling sex to get Instagram photos. You know, Claudia Darga, she doesn't dress raunchily. You know, not at any point.
She dresses. You know,
she definitely uses the fact she's photogenic. You know, but she doesn't sell herself down the river. No. I don't think, you know, no. And we know she's a good fisherman. There's somebody at my door, just ponder on that a sec, because I think it's harming the things that you're trying to do. One sec.
Words about my mate being able to eat.
It looks a bit like, who are you? A bit like me, but short as bald head.
Is Martin Wassell. So one of my old mates. Yeah, one of my old mates. Jace Ingley has been friends with Martin Wassell for years, and Jace is one of the people that when I very first got into fishing, I happened to sort of meet him on the Ebro. We'd gone for a girls' fishing trip, me, Pip and Jemima, gone onto the Ebro fishing, you know, suddenly decided we've been working in this industry, we don't spend enough time going fishing, and we'd go on, you know, just boozy trips to the Ebro. We'd just sit on the banks of the Ebro and get absolutely leathered, to be honest. Why wouldn't you? It was real good crack. And Jace was the poor person that had to guide us.
Yeah.
And it was just, it turned into being like a lifelong friendship. And he ended up when he'd come back, we'd go fishing, and we ended up doing all sorts of adventures. And just pure friends, you know, people used to think we was married and all sorts. It was hilarious. But he put loads of time into teaching me carp fishing, and he taught me, because he's not he wasn't into all the fandangled new stuff. It was just good solid angling, you know, just teaching me the basics and teaching me it right, and you know, spending time with people like Crowe and stuff. But yeah, he's really good mates with Martin Wassell, so I've known who Martin Wassell was from his stories for years, and then met Martin a few times. But then when I always hear him speak about him, I think, yeah, you know, we just used to get like catch reports from Martin, you know, every now and again. And it wasn't one of these people that sent in his catch reports because he wanted, you know, to make a name for himself. He was just genuinely reporting his captures, you know, and it was just, you know, one of those people that, you know, they don't want to be the next household name, and, you know, they don't want the following. Just goes fishing, is just really good angler. And it's like, yeah, that's, you know, great quality as well. But yeah, back onto the women's thing. Yeah, I think it does harm it. And like, yeah, I'm into fitness, health, well-being, you know, all things like that. And I keep an eye on other sort of in sporting industries and stuff like that, just so I can see how they're managing, you know, the diversity thing, and how people are represented and how more messages are portrayed. And it was all sort of, you couldn't get into the, whatever they call it, the fitness wellness space before if you didn't have six-pack and, you know, fake boobs and fake tan and, you know, looked, you know, perfect all the time. And that industry has really moved away from that in the last sort of year or so, and just championing just people for who they are, as opposed to this idealistic, you know, everybody's got to look like a certain way for it to sell and for things to work. And again, I think, you know, like we were saying with the technology thing, fishing's always just a bit behind. And I think we're just still in that flurry of, you know, people coming into it, finding that, and no disrespect to some of the girls that they are, you know, that have done that, but they're hardly Claudia Schiffer. You know, we've not got any absolute, you know, absolute world. It is, you know, yeah, they're all relatively attractive, but that shouldn't be what it's about. It shouldn't be, how attractive you are or what you look like, and how much time you can be bothered to spend to tie yourself up before you go fishing. It should be about the enjoyment of the sport, what you're getting from the sport, what our sport, does for you, and just good, solid angling. They're the key things. It's, the fundamentals of our sport, which is enjoying. It's not even the catching, is it? It's the enjoying trying to catch fish, fishing safely, so there's no damage to the fish and you're not, damaging the environment, and just being outside and, enjoying it for a hobby, and I think this is social media again. It's just getting it all lost, isn't it? And, people like worried about like likes, and I've had people say to me, you should have more likes on Instagram. Well, I probably could have more likes on Instagram if I wanted to sit every night hashtagging the right things, doing the right things, trying to get loads of reshares, but I've done that as part of my job, and I'm not that interested in me being, Insta famous, whatever that fucking means. I'm more interested in getting more people going fishing, getting kids going fishing, getting women going fishing, just our sport being enjoyed for what it is. And just this.
So, do you think having the England team, obviously, if you start at the top, something to aspire to, having an England ladies team definitely normalises fishing for women. I think. I think it kind of introduces the fact that women do fish, enough of them to actually have a national team. So I think that's like a great thing. What are the things you think we can do? Because I think you have to go from the top down. I think if you're gonna. I know a lot of things, they say the other way around, it's grassroots upwards, but little girls don't grow up thinking, I want to be a fisherman, fisherwoman, fisher person. What do we say now,
Yeah, because there's nothing for them to look into. I remember, being younger and sport was always on, like, the TV. Like, when, like, you're in and out the house and parents are doing stuff, dad's in the garden, mum's doing stuff. We was in and out the house, and you'd go in to get something to eat and get a drink, and they'd be like, athletics on, and then on a night like boxing would be playing away in the background, and there was always some kind of sports things, and you didn't really see women jockeys. Racing was often on. You didn't see women's boxing on the TV. The only real sport that I can remember seeing that had women on it with athletics. So like I grew up like idolizing like Sally Gunnell, like Dean Macy was around at the same time. Like they were my childhood like sporting heroes. And I think we've now got a massive online video platform in angling. And I think what needs to be done is more women utilised in that. That needs to be normalised because that's where, kids are watching it. The dad's got it on, and the little girl's running around and she's doing whatever and she's in and out. But all she's seeing is a load of blokes going fishing. And yes, they're not going to be as good an angler, but how do we define who's the better angler anyway? Because you're a better angler at catching big carp, but you go fish next to Thom Maker on linear, catching numbers of carp, and he's going to dust you up.
Yeah,
but if you took him,
all of us up.
He's going to dust all of you. But if you took him to Tatton, he's going to be lost for a first few days. Like, this is completely out of my comfort zone. He's going to, he's still going to catch. He's a good angler, but there's angling's not as black and white as the 400 meters, so we can get away with putting some women on some angling programs, because a lot of the angling programs is more aspirational stuff with some catching thrown in to make you feel the buzz. So let's just normalise women being on the programs.
That's the key. As soon as you mentioned the sports, I thought my mind went straight away there before you said it. Athletics is the only one. Women's football's never really took off. I know there's women's leagues at amateur level around the country, but it's still never really been. Women don't grow up thinking I want to be a footballer. As I know, obviously, plenty end up becoming that way. But it's not like, again, one of those things that's told it's just normal and accessible. Women don't go for a kickabout on the field when they're 10 years old, like the lads do, you know. And that's football. It's a multi-billion-pound industry at the top of the chain. They haven't really solved that problem yet. So it's always going to be an uphill battle, I think, in fishing. But normalising it, like you said, the England ladies team is obviously a fantastic thing. We've got a platform now with this video stuff. So you're saying about the new site that you're working with, the tech guys. Obviously, you've got Sipography already in existence, KWO. There's that fishing TV. I mean, this is a platform that anyone can get on. Like it's, you know, if you make some good quality content, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what style of fishing you do, male, female, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, people like Elliot and the other people doing this, they're going to buy it up. And maybe the tech people you're working with. So, you know, women can make just as good camera people as men. You know, we know that they're capable of doing anything mentally as well or better than guys. So how do we encourage all this? How do we get people, like you said, normalizing it? It will snowball once they see videos made by people like yourself or the Joe Greens or documenting her trips, or, you know, all the other people that are already out there sort of fishing. We need to get it in places where people see it as normal. And what great leveler than kind of TV, you know, you watch something that's entertaining. It's entertaining. I don't watch a normal TV program, a cop drama, Line of Duty or something, think, oh, the protagonist is a woman. You know, it just is, and it's a good program. I don't think, oh, would it have been better if it was Taggart, or, you know, it is what it is. Showing my age there. But
and it's just little things that I think can be improved on. It's like, you know, loads of these companies are supporting, you know, most of the big companies have got, you know, a female angler, you know, that they're supporting. So just, you know, give them a little bit more of a voice, you know, get them to write a couple of features for the website, you know, give them a chance. And I know, like, I don't know if you've seen a young woman, Lauren Sanford, kicking around. She works at Total Tackle, mega keen. I think she's been angling, you know, since she was young, but then mega got into the carp stuff. And she's, when we've gone into this last lockdown, I'd been speaking to her about a couple of things. She was like, I'm thinking that, you know, I want to do stuff to try and encourage more women to the sport. I've been thinking about doing, you know, these lives, but I'm a bit worried that nobody will watch them and stuff like that. You know, what do you think? I was like, just do it. Just do it. You know, it will be absolutely fine. She was like, well, will you come in on and do one? I was like, of course I'll do it. You know, let's get it off the ground. Let's get it going. You know, I'll help you come up with some people. If, you know, if you're struggling to get in touch with any of the girls, just do it. But, you know, she's a proactive young girl. She's driven. She's thirsty. She wants it. And she's gone and done these. And I think, you know, I had a look the other day, and I think the one I did with her, you know, got 4,000, you know, a couple of others, like, after that I've got, you know, about 4,000 views or something, which, you know, for an Instagram live is pretty good, because I've seen some of the big companies do some, and they've been a lot worse than that. And you think,
no, I've done a few things myself.
Just to say, you know, you've pulled it out of the park. It's brilliant. Well done. She went, I was so nervous, you know, I nearly didn't do it. And I was like, yeah, but I'm nervous when I do stuff. You know, it's normal to be nervous. Just crack on and do it. And to any of the girls, like, and any of the ladies that are scared of doing these things, just have a go, you know. And yeah, you're scared of somebody that'll knock you, but there's people that knock the people that are the best in the world at things. You know, you can argue who's the best boxer in the world, but even if everybody agreed on you know, one person being the best boxer, you know, armchair fucking boxer Steve, and still have a pop at him when he's had 2 beers and be like, that was a shit fight. Well done, Steve. Let's see you get off the surfer and do any better. You know, because if unless they're out there making lives and, you know, doing a better job, they can't criticise you, can they? You know, and it's just that thing. It's just like, just do it. You know, pick up a camera. You can do it on your phone now. You know, you've got a relatively decent phone. Just have a go. Start doing little video blogs. You know, set your Instagram account to private if you don't want, you know, every man and his dog being able to watch it. So just the people that, you know, you've chosen to follow you can watch it and build your confidence that way. But, you know, the big companies, you know, give these people a voice, get them involved with stuff, you know, maybe don't set them out to do a video on their own, but, you know, go out with a couple of the guys, you know, have a team social and make sure, you know, that they come and do a bit of filming and film them all equally. You know, don't just put a 2-minute segment, you know, of the female in there, you know, give everybody 20 minutes so it comes across as a level playing field. And people always say to me, you know, about will you come on and talk? I'm like, yeah, as long as we don't talk about technical stuff. Don't do talking about rigs. Can't tell you the name of any of the products. You know, absolutely atrocious at it. My Thom, it can tell you the proper names of all the different swivels. They're just fucking swivels, mate. They're just
exactly. Did it fit in the leg clip? Good, done.
Is that the right one? Oh shit! I've put it on. No, it's not the right one. Take it off and put the right one on. Where's one of them? And I go, where's one of them swivels? Which swivel? The one with a little bit on it. You know,
Corda have started to do, like, featuring their different sizes. See, Daryl and people talk about size 10s and size 11 swivel. I'm like, is there a size 11 swivel? There's a swivel and it fits or it doesn't. Like, why complicate it? You know, all right, big and small. I get that. You know, I want to have a big leg clip or small leg clip. Fine. Yeah. But, you know, does this size 11 swivel work with Armorled's leg clip? I don't know. Who knows? Nobody. But it's I know.
And then
exactly
I've run out of those leg clips. I've run out of those leg clips, and when I bought those different leg clips in the shop, I've put them in my tackle box, and now I found out at the lake they don't fit with those swivels.
Oh, don't standardise that sort of stuff, please. So listen, we've been nearly 2 hours. It flies, doesn't it? Tell me, your fishing. What have you got planned? Is there any ladies meetups? Any competitions going to happen now? Things are getting relaxed. What's going on?
Yes, loads going on. So me and Lauren, that I've just mentioned, have organised a little ladies social to kick things off in July. That will be announced shortly. I've got Ladies Carp Academy sorted from north. I need to try and find a suitable venue to do the Ladies Carp Academy down south this year. We had Raisbury lined up for last year. Raisbury were really, really kind and going to give us the South Lake for it. But I daren't ask this year because they'll have a lot of upset syndicate members that have lost a lot of fishing time, and it's not on to ask them, you know. And I wouldn't even consider asking them if I could still do it this year. So I need to try and find.
Sorry to interrupt. You can rent banks of linear these days now, can't you? You can have a whole lake or a whole bank to yourself.
Yeah, again, I think linear are not, and we've already got linear reserved for the Women's World Champs. So don't know if this will go ahead yet, but last year should have been the first ever Women's World Championships. So we had the World Cup in 2009 in France. And before you can have an official World Championships, you have to have a World Cup. It's how like the FIPS thing works to get it all ratified and get it to the same level as the men's. So we had the World Cup in France, and it should have been the first ever World Champs, and we would have been hosting it in England last year at Linear. Obviously, COVID put stop to that. We've got the dates reserved for this year. We don't know whether it'll go ahead because obviously, yes, we seem to be coming out of our situation in this country, but there seems to be a lot of the other countries that are going back into it, and they're not as far on with their vaccines and stuff like that. So that's tentative. But we've got the England versus Welsh back on the thing that first kicked it all off. That's back up and running for this year, and hopefully want to try and sneak in a few more sort of Ladies Carp Academy events. Just casting days, rig schools, you know, just teaching those like the fundamental things. It's, you know, rigs people, you know, I can't learn from watching things on TV. I'm like a monkey see, monkey does. Like you sit in front of me and show me how to tie a rig, and that's the rig that I can use and tie for forevermore. You know, the rigs that I still revert back to now are the ones that Jay showed me years ago, because he sat there doing monkey see, monkey does with them. You know, anything else that my Thom will tie this rig up and dangle in front of me, go, look at that, and it'll be the 251 first, you know, so-and-so's new fandangled best ever catching pop-up rig. And I'm like, wow, that's got a lot of bits to it. That's, what's it called again?
I don't know if I've ever tied a rig in the house my whole life. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fishing thing, and if I can't do it quick in 5 minutes on the bank, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Not only steaming, making funny shapes, and
Oh, he gets the kettle out in the kitchen. I'm like, what are you doing? Steaming some rigs. Time me some up, babe.
Yeah, it's a rig wallet. Do it. So, and personal fishing, or are you all just about now? Your ladies' commitments with the England, and
I've spent so many years in the past organising other things that last year me and Thom we got a Girton ticket because I'd gone down, fished the Curve Lake, seen the big lake, obviously, some big fish in there. And those commons that were from Penview are mega.
Yeah.
And I love a big common. So I'd had a Bundy's ticket a while back, and as much as I'd love to still be down there fishing on there, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, when I was working full time, it just wasn't viable. I just couldn't fit it into my life. So Girton's like just under an hour away, so you can get there and do an overnighter, a bit more realistic. And me and Thom had got into a really good habit of once a week after lockdown finished last time, we were going once a week, making the effort, going down, and then fitting, some weekends and taking a bit of time off here and there, and was really getting into the groove of like figuring it out. And then COVID hit again. Well, no, then we got the new house, so I had to knock it on the head while we moved, and then we went into lockdown again. So obviously night fishing's allowed 29th, and we've just seen everybody going mad, like going in the Girton group saying, I'm going down. It's like, right, let's just leave them all to it for a little bit, and then we'll start up. So yeah, I want to concentrate some time and effort onto there again, because that I'd love. But
I hear a lot of good things about that complex as well. Some of my friends are either on the list or have got tickets and whatever, and it seems like decent fishery, and obviously the fish that came from Pendle have gone massive in there, haven't they? Has it been 60 butthead now, is it?
Yeah. It's a mega bit of water. It's one of those places where you can be in your swim and you can look around and you can't actually see anybody else. I can't remember how big it is at the acres, but they'd call it a big windswept pit, if you want to give it its technical carp fishing name. Just a big bit of water with a load of trees around it, innit? They'd pick it up. It's always windy on there. It is always windy on there, Jamie. Yeah, it's a big windswept pit. I'm out there doing it on a big windswept pit. The waves are lapping into my swim. Yeah. It's a big bit of water, and it's deep as well. And it's so don't get me wrong, it can get relatively busy, but there's always you can always move, and there's always bits of the lake that people aren't fishing, and so it's quite nice, and it's well run. It's sort of middle of nowhere. There's a busy road near it, but it's really, really nice. And it's just one of those waters when Kai's there. When I went down there, I was like, yeah, I like it here. I really, really like it here. So yeah, anybody that fancies having a go, I'd get your name on the waiting list pretty soon.
Hot Ted, we're going to see you trying to hold a 60-pound carp.
Right, I'll let him out. Yeah.
Kaiser is the chief, it sounds like.
Yeah. I dearly love to be holding that common.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. It sounds like a cracking water. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much, unless there's anything you want to add or hock or promote or anything other than that.
Everybody needs some Kumu clothing in their life.
Yeah.
Also, the technology that I was talking about that's coming soon is Catch. That's what it's called. That's the brand name. Keep an eye out for that. Been great chatting to you. Great to have the Carp Cast back.
Thank you.
Was the original. And
good
there is some other good ones out there, but I love the Corda one. That's good. I think Simon's doing a really good job.
Did you listen to our one with Simon?
Yeah, I was finished listening to that this morning. Simon's a really cool guy. And I like the way it's just not all about fishing. It's just life, isn't it? Life chats. I know you listen to Joe Rogan and stuff, and that's what I've always liked about the Carp Cast. It's just
fishing Joe Rogan. We'll do aliens. We'll do everything.
Yeah.
if we can. Yeah, well, we started off fairly philosophical. So yeah, please keep in touch. Obviously, we spoke about a few things at the start. Do think about all those.
There's Kaiser getting in for the last bit.
Oh, he's been in a couple of times actually. Yeah, I've spotted him a couple of times. Yeah, I was going to get Lulu's down here. Actually, she's laying on the floor. We can get him to say
Lulu.
hello. Say hello to Kaiser.
Hello.
Oh, little cute face, haven't you? Oh, she's look at her bobbers.
That's not cool.
No.
That's not cool, is it, darling?
No. They were hot all the time as well. She's changed all her habits, but yeah, it's been a very rewarding experience. Say hello to Kaiser. Look, see the dog. On that note, thank you very much once again, Bev, for joining the Carp Cast. We'll see you out on the bank soon, and please be in touch. If you have anything you want to promote, we're down for doing any sort of promotion to get anybody into the sport, kids, ladies, the whole thing. So you got anything you want to promote or whatever, then please get in touch. We'll get you on to do a piece. And any ladies that are listening to this, if you get any catch reports, everyone's got a phone with them now with decent video, then just send it to us. We'll put it out. Make your own little 5-10 minute piece, and we'll put it on the Carp Cast now with video as well, and YouTube and everything. Please do that. I'm thinking, would we get away with a Carp Cast social female? Do you reckon we've got any female listeners? I know there's sort of handful that have been on the show, but I wonder if there is a female podcast listenership for fishing.
Yeah, let's find out. Come on, girls, tell us if you listen, and if you're not, then there should be. So yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think if any of my Team England lot listens to Carp Cast. I think they do, to be honest.
There's definitely a couple. We've had Jo on in the past. We've had a couple of girls over the years, but as I said, I don't get any messages from girls saying I really enjoyed this week's show or whatever, like we do from the guys. There's messages every day from sort of listeners, and they are. But I used to play a lot of poker, and that has the same issues that we've been talking about with ladies in fishing. It's very male dominated. It's probably about 1 in 10 in like your local casinos and stuff when you play the nightly tournaments. About 1 in 10 is a woman. But again, same reasons. There's a lot of female ambassadors in the sport now trying to get women into it, and they talk about all the same things we've spoke about, and there's quite a lot of intimidation sitting down at a table with 9 men, and you inevitably, everybody's attention turns to them, especially if they're attractive. It's like, oh yeah, and there's a general lack of respect for their game. Don't get me wrong, the high end of poker, there's probably 30% women. Your top 50, there's definitely a number of women in there that will beat 99% of all men that play poker. They beat them. They're very respectable, but generally the average woman sits down at a table, the guys are looking at them like, I can take advantage of you, sort of thing. I can bully you, which is quite predatory, poker anyway, whereas fishing isn't, but as I said, that I come across the same conversations, that there's a lot of lady ambassadors for the sport that the companies are taking on, which is great that the fishing companies do, as long as it's for the right reasons, not just because they're women, it's because they are trying to grow their sales. Like I said, there's a whole load of women out there that will like fishing if they were given the chance to try it, that will buy gear. Once they find out that they like it, we've got to get them in a position where they can try it, at least make it accessible, without being intimidated or feeling like they're out of place or anything. So if there's any way we can do that, ladies, send in your catch reports, send in your little vlogs where we'll put them on. We'll make a section. On that note, I'll thank you for joining the Carp Cast.
Not a problem.
Check out the website at www.thecarpcast.com. There you'll find extra content, merchandise and lots more to support the show, including our entire back catalogue of free offerings.